Hello there. Tom already throwing the Steve Young hate out there. It runs deep.
Oh my god.
All right, DC's going off.
All right, stand by.
Hopefully, it doesn't get too hot. Why is the icon bouncy? GarageBand is scanning your system for audio. Why? Why are you scanning my system for audio devices? GarageBand.
Because it can. I just realized I could move this that way and that way. Look at that. Imagine that.
All right, got notes up there too. Oh, where's the
what?
The
yeah, we got it. You know, I found a thing of thumbtacks.
Make sure Leia's not in the way when we.
Why? What is happening here?
Dave's having problems.
Fuck you.
Leia's right in the way. You're gonna have to move her. Like her hip is kind of covering your face.
Can we get some side boob? How's that? Better?
Hold on. We gotta let the camera catch up.
Yeah, there she is.
Perfect. Big lovin', my man.
My man.
Look here.
Look there.
All right. My toast. We got all the news that we got to catch up on.
I'm ready.
All right. Then let's just fucking do it. We'll go into 30 seconds of silence. And we will begin.
Are we starting the 30 second silence?
I mean, well,
you said, oh, okay, let's start the 30 second silence. I mean, that doesn't imply starting. That's all right.
So unprofessional.
On 3, 1, 2. All right, is it
wait,
on 3 or 1, 2, 3?
Or 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
All right. 30 seconds of silence starting now. To Game of Thrones.
No.
Winter has come. It was a hell of a run, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
That's a real thing with the winter coming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like
it eventually came.
I've been saying it for like fucking a decade.
Yeah, it finally came towards the end of the series.
How big is this fucking planet?
That's a good question, but that's a topic for another time. The only thing that I want to talk about Game of Thrones related, besides the fact that last night was the final episode of the series, so you can rest easy now. We probably won't be talking about it much anymore from here on out, because I know you hate the subject.
It's not even that I hate it. It's just I don't have anything to say about it.
Right. Well, fucking a lot of people online had a lot of shit to say about last night's episode. Now, me personally, I didn't mind it. I actually thought this whole fucking season was good. But these fucking screeching ass clowns online are just like, oh my God, this was so terrible. I'm like, what are you watching?
There was a couple people at work that weren't satisfied with the ending.
I thought it was great. Me and Kristen, we both watched it. We're like, oh yeah, that was good. But fucking all of these retards on the internet are just...
It just goes to
pitching and moaning. And
listen, it goes to show that just like with Star Wars and Avengers and Marvel, whatever, you insert fucking thing here with this medium.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a place where they can hate on shit. Yeah. And some of them just hate to hate.
Yeah.
Haters going to hate.
And most of the time it is the most negative voices that are the loudest. And those are the ones that you hear, but fuck it, whatever. I enjoyed it. Good job, Benioff and Weiss. And we'll be talking about you here in a few minutes. But until then, hello, everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, the little Annie to my Watto, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Chuck Watto.
How are you?
Oh, God. we'll get into more deeply into our weeks, but I'll say that I'm happy to be here
Mm-hmm.
and not staring at my bathroom walls.
Oh yes,
So,
yes. I've been hearing about this for the last week or so.
Yeah,
So
and
this will.
it was the primary reason that we didn't get something taped for the previous week.
I don't know what you're talking about. We had content last week.
We did.
So all of the audio listeners got an episode that
Awesome.
may have been new to them. Probably new to them.
Probably
50-50.
I don't know. Did you have the amount of downloads in the old thing? Certainly didn't have 107 episodes.
That is true. Yeah, we only got into the 30s, I think, in Project VCR. So
Yeah.
before that whole thing went to shit. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. What are we talking about this week?
Well, as it just so happens that as we are taping today, Monday, May 20th, we are one day past the 20th anniversary of the release of the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about, we're going to go back in time.
Yeah, going to go back in time.
To a time where things were so different in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, like traveling back to those times, if you think about, we're going to get into a little bit of retrospective of like what, seeing a movie and shit, but
yeah,
it really kind of puts into play this, just what was the world was like.
Oh yeah.
This pre 9/11, this, the Bosnian War was going on.
Yeah, this was like when the internet was just really starting to blow up and starting to like everybody was starting to get internet access. Oh yeah, just it's crazy times. And I have this whole story I'm going to tell when we get to it. But
the 99, I think, maybe even 98, that was the launch pad for like where we ended up with the internet, like where we are now.
Yeah, I think 98 was probably when it really fucking just like hit the mainstream, and then 99 and beyond was when like everybody was adopting.
Yeah, because DSL became more readily available, with twisted pair technology going over the existing, into people's homes via RJ11.
Yeah.
Which ironically I was hired to install at one point. Am I echoey?
I don't think so.
I feel like I'm getting like a feedback mechanism. Is it just my?
No, it's probably one of your litany of medical issues.
Jesus Christ! I legit. I feel like I'm like have a feedback loop happening.
No, I think it's just you. The little Valsalva kind of clear out the pipes.
Unique New York.
So, all right. So before we get into our main topic this week, we missed a couple of weeks of news because we were kind of absent last week due to unforeseen circumstances.
Life, bitches.
Life does happen. And we actually had some pretty big goddamn news drop as far as like Star Wars and general entertainment goes. Am I really watching this right now? Is this?
Yep.
Wow.
This is happening
live on the air. Of course, they can't see it on the YouTube.
They can't.
Because you're off camera.
They're gonna have off camera, off mic Dave.
Yeah, he's
flonasing it up.
Yeah, or doing lines, whatever. Use your imagination.
All right, let's do this.
All right. So, a little over a week ago, this is old news for everybody else now, but we have to talk about it because this is pretty goddamn important. And that was Disney came out and announced a whole bunch of movies coming out in the 20s. I can't believe we're about to hit the 20s and we're going to be able to call it the 20s.
The 20s.
Because up to this point,
the roaring 20s.
When we were growing up, we had the 80s and the 90s, and then it became like the 2000s and the 2000 teens. Like, what do we call this? Now we can start calling it, it's the 20s. You know?
Exactly. Because are kids even learning about what happened in the 20s at this point?
Not the 1920s.
Are they getting like an education in the Depression era?
Like probably a little bit about the Depression, a little bit about Prohibition, and that's about it. Fuckers. Times are changing.
These young pups.
Yep. Anyway, so we got the announcement for the release dates for the next Star Wars trilogy, right? Because we knew going up to this that they had 2 trilogies in the works, allegedly. One from Rian Johnson and one from our Game of Thrones creators, Benioff and Weiss. And initially, when they first made this announcement, they didn't say which movies these were going to be. It was just going to be in December of 2022, 2024, and 2026. We are going to get 3 new Star Wars movies as part of a trilogy.
Right.
Sandwiched around that are 4 fucking Avatar sequels, which sidebar, I've never seen the first Avatar. And you know what? I don't know if I really care to.
I saw Avatar in the theater,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which I think is really the only place you could have seen it. Like maybe now because big televisions and 4K high definition and shit like that, maybe Avatar will like jump at you.
Yeah.
But like it's not. You go and you see it in the 3D theater, and it's very subtle, the 3D work.
Sure.
It is a well-produced movie.
Sure.
It is
I have no doubt.
It is an aesthetically pleasing movie. It makes you want to go fuck big blue fucking, whatevers.
Yeah.
However, the political fucking undertones through the entire movie are what make people really fucking. There's people that really liked Avatar. They thought it was fucking the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the fucking the people that looked at it and go like, oh, I hate these political undertones and fuck this movie.
Yeah.
I stand pretty squarely in the middle of the left and right. I look red and blue.
Sure.
So I generally speaking don't get really offended with political shit because like whatever. All right, I see both sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
That fucking movie pissed me off.
Wow.
It pissed me off because of its overtness. And the fact that it's now a staple of what Disney is doing. I mean, they have a whole fucking ride dedicated to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, hang on.
All right, we're doing it live.
Hi, Kate.
Hey, Dad, where are you?
I'm taping the podcast. You're live.
Oh, do you remember that ball that Jeff and Jess got Holly?
No.
Well, she likes it.
Okay. Cool story, bro.
All right. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
All right. And this was Dave takes a phone call in the middle of a podcast.
Look, if I embarrass them enough, they'll stop calling. She knows I came over here to tape the fucking podcast.
We pretty much do this most Mondays.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of become our staple.
No, I mean, she's back from school and she's whatever, try and give her benefit of doubt. But the trick is just put them on the air,
Yeah.
embarrass the shit out of them, and then they won't call again.
Yeah, maybe they'll do a preemptive text like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?"
Anyway, I enjoyed watching Avatar. I did not appreciate how overt James Cameron was in a lot of his politicizing of it, and that I just don't. It bothers me that it's a staple part of Disney now, and that they're going to make 4 more.
Yeah.
That thing is going to be wrung out. Like it was really, really popular because of like how big like the animation was, the integration between the CGI and the human characters, and like how big the worlds were that were involved in it, and like. But really, let's face it, it's continued to be a thing because the fucking tree huggers love it.
Yeah,
they love that fucking movie.
Well, I wouldn't even know because I've never seen it. So, but yeah, this was all part of Disney's acquisition of Fox, is how they came in, control of the Avatar franchise. So they made some adjustments because these sequels were originally supposed to be earlier, I guess, but now it's the Avatars start in 2021 and then Star Wars starts in 22, and then they alternate every December for like the next decade. It's either a Star Wars movie or an Avatar movie in December as a release.
So it makes you wonder if the whole fucking. Did they have these in the can? I mean, did they have scripts in the can for Avatar?
Yeah,
I mean,
Cameron's been talking about like a multitude of sequels for a while now. So I guess they finally gave him the green light and all that. But I don't know. Hopefully these.
What made Titanic so fucking popular?
That was just a really solid movie. It was just a well-made movie.
Why?
Like, I don't know. I think it was like kind of the right movie for the right time. Again, that was 98. Again, internet is just starting to boom, pre 9/11. Everybody's hopeful. The economy's good. Clinton's in office, the good Clinton. And, it was a different time. It was a nice feel-good movie. I liked it. I love Titanic. I saw it like 3 times in theaters.
Oh, God. I saw it a lot in theaters, but that's only because people wanted to see it, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Plus, those were the days when, you're probably trying to bang chicks and,
I was pretty firmly entrenched with the wife.
Okay,
but
I don't know. I don't know what Dave was up to in February of '98. But anyway, what the fuck was I gonna say? Oh yeah, well, hopefully these new Star Wars movies make Avatar look avatarded. So, and after this whole thing was announced, everybody was going back and forth, like, what the fuck's gonna happen? Are you all right?
Oh, Bronco Fett hit it right on the head. What made Titanic popular? and then he typed out boobs like you would on the calculator. Like,
hey,
it is boobs. It was fucking
Kate Winslet, man.
Kate Winslet,
she's fucking hot,
fucking twinkle tits. You know,
literally.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Yep. But so a lot of people were going back and forth. Oh, is this the Benioff and Weiss trilogy? Is it the Rian Johnson trilogy? Or are they going to kind of like alternate movies in those trilogies? What the fuck? And it wasn't until, God, like 4 or 5 days later when Bob Iger was doing an interview with some rich white guy magazine. And he came out and said, this next trilogy, these movies we announced are the Benioff and Weiss movies. So now it's got everybody speculating, well, what's up with the Rian Johnson trilogy? Is it canceled? Is it going to go straight to fucking Disney Plus? And really, there's been no chatter whatsoever. No talk about it being canceled. No talk about it being still on. No fucking clue at this point what's going on with the Rian Johnson trilogy. All we know is that Bob Iger has said, and he is the man, that these are coming out in, 22, 24, and 26, and they're the Benioff and Weiss movies. So, hot on the heels of this fucking hotly debated Game of Thrones, we got 3 years now.
Yeah, but I think Game of Thrones is what put them in here.
Sure.
And not having seen a single entire episode of Game of Thrones, I can, just based on the hype, how many people have watched it, even on something as exclusive as HBO. This is an HBO series that probably was one of their biggest.
It is their biggest. In fact, last night I just read a story this morning. It was their most viewed anything ever in the history of HBO.
Yeah,
was
I believe
season finale last night.
I believe it. So I think they had a good product, and from what I hear, because I haven't seen it, it's like it's ebbed and flows over the seasons. Like it was in the middle, there was a strike, and the writer's strike was in the middle of it and everything else. So it suffered like everything else. But the reality is they put out a good product, and I think based on their imagination, I think they'll put out a good Star Wars product.
Yeah, as long as they're allowed to kind of do their thing and not like be handcuffed by fucking Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh,
or
how
Bob
awesome
Iger.
would it be? Like, it will never happen. Like, but the Star Wars version of Titties and Dragons,
I know,
it's
right?
like,
Yeah, that's probably a little too hopeful.
Yeah.
They're definitely gonna scale it back for the family crowd, but
Sure.
they can get a little more edgy and be more adult and not.
I think it was in one of the discussions fairly recently in the cantina that we were talking about having a like in the PG-13, you're allowed one fuck.
Yeah.
And where would you put it?
Yeah.
It's we've had a couple PG-13 Star Wars movies. So where would we put the fuck?
Yeah.
Or how about just eliminate the word fuck and just have fucking?
Yeah.
Does that change things?
That does change things.
Oh, okay. Well, a man can dream.
Yeah. The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
Fuck the Senate. So anyway, the only other thing I wanted to bring up with this, as far as like the Benioff and Weiss, these guys are writers and producers. They are not directors. So as far as these 3 movies go, they're going to have to bring on, individual directors for the individual movies. So I don't know how that's going to work. If they're going to pick some like, up and coming people, like kind of like how Gareth Edwards was picked for Rogue One, and I guess, JJ was pretty well established when they gave him Force Awakens. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to go about like choosing a director for these. Because remember, these guys are simply writers, producers, and visionaries, kind of like George Lucas, the way he should have been. And we'll talk about that when we get into episode 1.
It does call into question how they're going to do that. And we have several years to figure it out.
Yeah. And I'm sure like
hopefully after the success of episode 9, it'll be driving a lot of this, because you figure it's the end of the year. So basically 2020 is going to be all about the Rise of Skywalker.
Sure.
So Rise of Skywalker, you got the Mandalorian coming out, you have the Clone Wars returning. So there's a lot of big Star Wars guns firing right now. And meanwhile, they're going to be getting production done and everything else on this new trilogy. So if I'm going on record to say I'm anticipating a very, very successful Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. No doubt.
And based on that success, I think that getting a director to come in there and do that is not going to be a problem.
No. Hopefully
you're not going to be calling up fucking Ron Howard and be like, "Hey man, we're desperate. We need you to come in here and save our asses."
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be happening with this next trilogy.
Oh yeah, for sure. And hopefully like all of the negativity that kind of started with The Last Jedi. Well, it really started with Force Awakens, but really culminated in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Hopefully all of that shit starts to kind of taper off as, Rise of Skywalker comes out and, we get The Mandalorian and shit like that.
Well,
and,
it calls the question that the nerds out there that are going to like, I can see how people would genuinely have an issue with these movies, but I think what we're dealing with right now, or you're dealing with as a Game of Thrones as a Game of Thrones fan, is the this negativity like that may be uncalled for, maybe it's not. It's all based on opinion, but it's the same shit. So you're going to get that. This is where we live now.
Yeah.
This is 240 characters or whatever it is in Twitter, Instagram, everything else. Like everything's vibrating in negativity, and it works. And the dark side thrives on it.
That is
thrives
true.
on the negativity.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that in a second.
That's a good point. So one other note that I made in here about this is the fact that this is so far out. 2026 is 7 years from now.
Yep.
We're talking like 7.5 years until this final movie is released in this trilogy. Who the fuck knows where we're going to be at that point?
Yeah.
Honestly, in 2022, I don't even know if I'm still going to be in Jersey. I'm probably not going to be in the military anymore. I may be fucking relocating. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And God knows what the fuck's going to be going on in our lives by 26. I mean, shit, we'll both be in our late 40s, almost 50. Fuck, my grandfather had his first heart attack when he was 50. So,
wait a minute. How old am I now? 44.
So yeah, you will be in your 50s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who the fuck knows, man? That's a long goddamn way away.
If you're still in Jersey, I might need wheelchair access to the studio.
I'll build a ramp on the outside.
Just pedal me up there.
Yeah, holy shit, man. So it's weird to think that far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, Bob Iger and Disney, they're already announcing all these movies. And the fucking last Avatar movie is 2027. So if you're an Avatar fan, that's like fucking almost 10 years away.
Avatar fans? I mean, like,
I don't know.
Where's all these people that have been like clamoring for like, I need a new Avatar movie? Oh no.
And my question is, what happens if like number 2 is just okay and then number 3 like performs terribly? Are they going to cancel the last
Pull the
2?
plug.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pull the fucking plug.
Yeah.
If it's a shit show, they got to cancel it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier if it did. Oh man. Ruin it. Like, I don't want to see Disney necessarily lose money because I am an investor, but fuck that franchise.
Yeah.
There's so many other things that they could be putting their money in towards. They could be putting more money into the Marvel universe. I'd rather see that.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather see. I mean, not that it's generating its own fucking.
Oh yeah. They're
writing its own checks.
Yeah. They're balls deep into Marvel. So.
Yeah. So, but this fucking Avatar thing, man, it just bugs me. Just right.
All right, fair enough.
Pulling my taint hair.
Did we already talk about your buddy check?
No. So here's the thing. You mentioned that, like in the note, it's who's to say we'll even be alive?
Yeah.
For all 3. That calls to question something that's like been happening to me recently, and your recent, with your grandfather and grandmother passing away, and there's this. I'm going through some fairly heady stuff with my own medical, and it really like. What it does, I have found myself, this is like therapy time.
Sure.
By the way, for peeps.
Yeah.
I find myself thinking about like the day, right? Because you know how like sometimes you go outside and it's like, fuck, it's hot today.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you're like, for whatever reason, it just seems like it's different. Like you've never experienced this before.
Yeah.
And knowing full well that this is what it gets like in New Jersey, but not in May.
Yeah. Not
May. Yeah, it's not usually fucking 90 degrees in May. With
it's gonna be May.
So this is it's an interesting, month, this particular one.
Sure.
But it's like you go out there and you're like, oh man. For me, I go like, why am I surprised? Why am I surprised that the weather's like this? I've fucking been in this area most of my life. I know what the fucking weather's like. Why is it surprising me? Or like, why does it feel different? You know why it feels different? We've never lived this day. This day that's happened, like at least in our consciousness, now like, let's take the ethereal shit out of it. Like take
right.
multi-dimensional like planes out of it and just talk about like where we are right now.
This
is an original experience.
Yeah.
So
like every day is new and different.
Every day is a completely different day. So regardless of what's happening in the world, regardless of what's happening to you this day, that each, like, why is today feel different? Why am I handling things different? Why could I handle something before that I can't handle now? The reality is that whatever happened before, you can build on that experience to make the future or tomorrow or today a little bit better. But that's a new experience. Like every day you wake up is a new experience, and something could cause it to go different. Now, some fucking crazy, parallel is going to push something into your life that's going to make you have some realizations and start thinking about things. But I think the bottom line is, and it's kind of for everybody, and it's, I put in there, it's more like a buddy check. So we're not just talking about suicide. Sometimes it's just about like, fuck, I don't feel like I have my shit together. It's today, this is a unique experience, and we're 43, 44-year-old men. You're a little bit younger than I am, but like, I think about like, well, was my father going through the same thing at this age? You said your grandfather had his first heart attack at 50. My grandfather also had a heart attack in his 50s, heavy smoker, drinker, the whole thing. So that experience that they had was unique to that time frame.
Sure.
It's like you go back to all right, great. They're 50 years old and I don't know, the 80s, 80s or early 90s or whatever. And they're turning 50, 60 years old. That was a completely different time in the world.
Yeah.
Expectations were different. This globalization wasn't there. So there's you can't compare your experience to somebody else's, because whatever's going on right now is unique to you.
Yeah.
So build on that. Do something, come to that realization. And it's hard as fuck to really think of that and along those lines. But when shit's like going a little bit sideways and you're like, yeah, man, and you start making comparisons to things. I know I do it all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, how could I have handled this before? Like, I handled it fine before. Now suddenly it's different.
Yeah.
And I can't handle it. Why can't I handle it now? It's like, well, today's different. Like things are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and doesn't make that thing any easier. It just helps you with the realization to get through it. So anyway, throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Apply that. Just Dave thinking.
Very
about
existential, philosophical.
Yeah. It's kind of where my brain goes a lot. When you're dealing with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes when my brain's doing 12 things in parallel all at the same time, and sometimes a couple of those things line up. But anyway,
it's a really fascinating point, though. Especially today is different than any other day in history, if you really think about it. So
ever. I mean, we're going into the 20s.
Yeah.
And we lived in the 20th century. We grew up in the 20th century. So now we're in the 21st century, which still even blows my mind to think about. Like, we're talking about the 20th anniversary of this movie.
Yeah.
And the things that were going on in our lives. And it kind of brings out that little existential friggin' like how different life was, and looking forward to think that, like, did I think that this was how my life was going to be at that point?
And it's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to kind of go into it when we get into like our experiences at the time.
Yeah.
But real quick, one other bullet point, Mr. Disney investor.
Yeah.
So another thing that happened during our time off was Disney is now in 100% control of Hulu. So we already knew Disney Plus was coming in November, and we already knew Disney was a co-partner in the whole Hulu project. It used to be like fucking Disney and Fox and like Comcast and somebody else.
It was NBC, Comcast, Fox,
and then like there was a fourth party in there somewhere. But between like mergers and people selling their parts, and then obviously the Disney acquisition of Fox, it ended up being Disney was a majority controller of Hulu, while Comcast was kind of like a 1/3 partner in the whole deal. So they came up in the last few days with some sort of a deal for Disney to buy the rest of fucking Hulu, and now Disney owns all of Hulu.
So I thought that this was kind of going to be the preemptive strike for how Disney was going to establish themselves on online service.
Sure.
But I think Hulu has taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
That Hulu right now, if you go, like, when I brought my Apple TV into work, right? And I have a Hulu Live account. When I go to log into something and ask you, oh, who's your television subscriber? I select Hulu as my subscription.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Hulu basically is the same as like a cable company for purposes of that.
Right. Yeah.
And it allows me to get live streaming access. So the fact that we're at the crossroads now where a cable alternative is actually kind of real.
Yeah.
Because I'm using Hulu, I'm paying $34 a month, $34.99 or whatever, and all of a sudden, Bob's your uncle. I had access to stuff that I ordinarily so same thing. Go to log into I don't know, like Fox News or something like that, like in the old school Apple TV. Log into Fox News, select Comcast as my provider, go to log in, fine. If I try and do the same thing with, like, I don't know, let's say TBS, right? I don't get TBS with my cable package. I have a very, very basic cable package,
sure,
just for internet. So I go to log in with Comcast. Nope. It knows enough that my access to via cable, just because I have a cable account, it knows that I don't have access to TBS. So it says, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Hulu, boom, I can do it.
Nice.
And I'm paying a penny, just a smidgen of what I was paying.
Oh yeah.
You know, otherwise. So anyway, the whole point of that story is that I don't think Disney buying out Hulu, I think they're just controlling content more than they are usurping their own streaming service.
Yeah. And then this could get into a whole big debate. Like, at what point is Disney going to get too big? I mean, they've soaked up a lot recently between the Fox acquisition and, you know, releasing Disney Plus, and now they control all of fucking Hulu. Like, they're going to control everything entertainment wise soon if they stay on this rate. Like, everything that fucking matters anyway.
I'm willing to bet that there's going to be the next big provider we haven't seen yet. I think there's going to be somebody big. Like Comcast right now is the biggest kid on the block.
Yeah.
All right. Disney was like, fuck off Comcast. Like, they have the acquisition power to do, more than NBC, Comcast.
It's like NBC Universal Comcast, right?
NBC was Disney bought ABC, right? So again, that's like, what'd you have on your television? Like, I know in the Philly area we had 3, 6, and 10. If you had rabbit ears, you could get 3, 6, and 10.
Yeah,
that was CBS, NBC, and fucking ABC.
Yeah, and then boom. Fox came around eventually.
Like we were almost teenagers by the time that shit. Like channel 29 for, again, locally. Yeah, like 29 and 57, all the alternate buttons finally started having content. That's how I could watch fucking He-Man rerun. But anyway, I think we haven't seen it. Like, I think the parceling out of, like, Comcast is going to have to figure out that, like, all right, we're losing business here. All we're providing is a pipeline. Yeah. So they have two options. They can either sidebar. I'm a very binary guy. Like, I've realized that about myself. Like, it's either, like, whenever I think about something, I think of two answers for it. I don't think about, like could be this.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Right? Right? Oh my God, dude. Like, when we start talking about Star Wars shit, just anyway. So they have two options. Comcast can either say, all right, here's your a la carte service where you can here's the radio buttons where you click. Here's the channels I want, and I'll pay this much for it. And here's the baseline price for that much content, because that's what Hulu's doing.
Right. Yeah.
So they can either match that, or they can fucking jack the price up so that the internet connection, they're not making the money off the cable subscription. So they're fucking have to do it via their internet pipeline.
And I would imagine that's where it's going to go, honestly.
Probably. I think it's the thing they have most control over.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in our world. I think that there's a lot more people that are connected.
Yeah.
Than we realize. I think there's still a lot of people that are still pulling, cable and using cable for all their shit. So
there's some slow people out there, even in this country. So yeah, no, I definitely agree. But anyway, we don't want to dwell on that. Just now Disney is controlling even more. Moving on to our weeks. For me, you mentioned it before, and we talked about it last time we recorded. My grandmother passed away. I went home again to California for the 4th time this year for the second funeral this year. And, we said goodbye to my grandmother. It was good. It was a lot harder though. This was a lot harder than when my grandfather passed. And that was pretty tough on me, but there was, like I said, a sense of finality about this. Even the service, my grandfather's service was really lighthearted, a lot of jokes, a lot of fun stories, things like that. Not so much this time around. It was a lot more somber, a lot more tears. And I mean, it kind of just reinforced my desire to, potentially get closer to home at some point, at least around the time that I retire, if not before. So I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about it. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the politics in California, I do miss my family, and it's like
your home.
Yeah, it is my home. And even though I lived in Jersey for 20 years, I still call California home.
Yeah.
And like especially with my father, like he and I were never really close when I was growing up, but over the last I don't know 6-7 years, he and I have gotten really close, and it sucks, having to say goodbye to him and not knowing when I'm going to see him again. It may not be another year or so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it kind of blows. So that's some shit that's been going.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I have the good fortune, I guess you could say, of growing up in this area, and most of my family is within 90 minutes of here.
Yeah,
either somewhere in PA or my sister lives in North Carolina. She's probably the most actually, not co-located.
Sure.
For the family that we're really close with. So it's a blessing and a curse. It comes with a lot of the drama is on your doorstep, as opposed to it being over the phone, and
true.
Wondering how you could deal with it and then having to deal with it are two completely separate things.
That is true, because over the last 20 years, my mother and my sister have been at each other's throats constantly. And I haven't had to deal with it because I've been over here. I'm like, that fucking sucks. Hopefully you guys can work it out.
Yeah.
By the time I get back there to visit in 2 years, and yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing about having to, if we move back, having to deal with that kind of shit being on my doorstep, like you said. But
yeah,
again, something that's been, bouncing around in my head a lot lately.
Well, thank God for this technology, because if we're still doing the podcast, we can always
do remote or whatever. But it's,
and honestly, the more people that are dislocated around the country is more excuse to go do some traveling.
Indeed,
Kathy wants to do. So
that's true. Yeah, we'll get a guest house. You guys can come out to Cali.
Give me a pool house, and make sure the internet connection's solid, and I'll be good to go.
All right, fair enough. Other than that, Star Wars related. Hey, we're getting back to Star Wars a little bit here for the first time in half an hour. I fired back up Xbox Live, and I got Battlefront 1 going again.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been playing that a lot lately. We've talked about how much we loved Battlefront 1 from 2015, and yeah, hopping into the multiplayer, doing blast matches. And it's been good too, because when we were doing this, 2 or 3 months ago, it seemed like it was really starting to get rampant with the guys that for some reason just seemed to have the perfect aim.
Oh yeah.
And we're just
those fuckheads with the programmable controllers.
Yeah,
and shit like
they
that.
have the auto aim and shit. It seems like that stuff is really dying down.
I don't know, man. I played the other night, and there was a couple of guys that I know had it.
Oh, really?
And my goal was to just find those guys and fucking follow them around and kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Just come up with really clever ways of fucking killing those two individuals. I didn't care how many times I died.
Yeah.
I only killed those people.
That's funny. But yeah, well, I haven't really seen that too much lately. So that's been a lot of fun. Really, the biggest thing about Battlefront 1 is the fucking music. The way they integrate the John Williams music across all of the fucking movies. So good. And it really helps immerse you in that Star Wars universe.
It really does. And what's funny, I get caught off guard because sometimes the crescendo of the music starts, and I'm like hiding. I'm like, is there somebody near me? Like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Well, yeah, because that happens on maps,
Yeah.
The crescendo, like you said, will change as it gets close to the end of the match, as either one team's about to win or your time.
Yeah, you look up and there's fucking plenty of time. Nobody's won. I'm like, oh shit. But that's how good the music is, and it keeps you like, oh fuck, the music's changing. It must be we're getting ready for a scene change, and I'm gonna die. No.
Yep. Yeah. So man, I don't know what it is about Battlefront 1, but they did such a good job, at least as far as some of the multiplayer modes, especially Blast.
Dude, it's very telling. I think I hope EA and Disney are watching and seeing what's going on, how active those servers are.
Yeah.
Because for Blast, never had to really wait. I've spawned into a game. I played like one round. Like I consider a round in Blast like playing all the maps.
Right, like one
once.
cycle of every map.
If I can, if I have enough time to do that, then I'm pretty happy.
Yeah,
I get to go into fucking Docking Bay 94.
94,
which isn't, it's not 94, but that's what we call
but it looks
anyway.
like it.
It's got the Falcon in the middle of it, so
yeah.
But if I can get around, no matter what I'm doing, I have to finish with that map at a minimum.
Oh, sure.
But I've never waited for people. It's never been like waiting to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used to be a domination guy. I like the domination game better. Since we've been playing Blast.
Yeah.
So I've been pretty much only doing that.
Mm. I haven't tried domination.
We should do it. We should hop on.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen tonight, but
no. But at some point, we got a 40 weekend, or at least I have a 40 weekend coming up.
So. Yeah, I do. Well, I have to work from home on Friday. I have to telework.
Work from home.
Yeah. Well, I gotta log in and send in my timesheet, and then But yeah, it's I think Battlefront 1. They got to be watching and going like, all right, this multiplayer is working.
Yeah, people are still playing it.
Yep.
4 years later, when we have Battlefront 2 out and we've been supporting the shit out of it, people are still going back and playing these maps on Battlefront 1.
I honestly believe that after this Jedi Fallen Order thing comes out, that Ben was talking about, after Fallen Jedi comes out, then we'll beat that and then go back to playing Battlefront 1.
Oh yeah.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, and by that time, the game will be 5 years old.
Yeah.
Damn near. So it's like, I don't know. I like it. I just
and it still looks fantastic. Like graphically, fucking beautiful. Like we said, the music and really just the gameplay is better. It really is better. It's not like fucking Spawn, like in Battlefront 2. You spawn, you look around for a second, boom,
die.
You're dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Spawn dead.
Yeah.
Oh, Spawn dead. Yeah. Spawn jetpack away, so you don't die right away. Die mid-flight. Watch yourself go crazy. Dead.
Yeah.
And fuck that. I'm just not. No.
Mm-hmm. Nope. I agree.
And the Titan. It's the Titan window. I'm telling you, like from a gameplay perspective. I'm just.
Dave's fighting with his microphone.
I adjusted it, and now it's in the way of my gesticulating.
Yeah.
No, it's just you got big picture in Battlefront. You see more of the area. Then also in the new Battlefront, it's like this.
Yeah,
it's like, why'd you do that?
Different.
Yeah, it's just not as good.
Yep. So anyway, that's really my week in a nutshell. So
excuse me.
What about you? I know you've got a lot to talk about.
Oh well, so. Oh god,
the bathroom, the dreaded bathroom,
the fucking bathroom. So we had this is going to be a rant about people that flip houses. Like if you're out there and you're listening to us and you flip houses, you're a douchebag. You're a douchebag until you prove otherwise. And here's why I say this. So we bought our house from somebody who bought the house after it was flipped, right? Some old lady lived in this house. People we bought it off of had it for a year. They did some minor stuff to it. But for the most part, we bought the house that they flipped.
Right.
Get into the bathroom. All right. So we've been there since 2006. So 13 years.
Yeah.
We lived in a house. And, the bathroom's always something we wanted to do just because it was kind of like very blah.
Sure.
We've been putting away money for it to do it. So some of the tiles fall down. We're like, all right, we'll put the tiles back. Go to put the tiles back. The wall's been compromised. Like, fuck. Mm-hmm. So now it's at a point where like we can live with it until the contractor we want to use is ready, or we have to do something right away. As it turns out, Mother's Day weekend, we're doing it right away. So start tearing out shit, fucking whatever this fucking thing is that I deal with. I have to run on pure adrenaline. Like I basically, it's one of those things where when I get angry and I hate shit, then that's what fuels me.
That's when you do your best work.
I'm running. I'm legitimately pushing through things because I'm fucking angry, and I'm letting that adrenaline. I'm letting the dark side energy fucking power my battery.
Nice.
So going to tear out this wall. It's fucking the drywall, the gypsum board that was put up in fucking 1952, and over top of it was metal tile. Let me say this again. Metal tile.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
So that tile that is behind you there, picture that, same color.
Oh, this?
In metal.
I had no idea they made metal tile.
Neither did I. In the bathroom. Let's see. Let's find a place that's going to have the highest humidity and most water running, at any given time, and let's put metal in there. Oh no, by the way, let's put metal in there that's going to rust because it was all fucking rusted. So you had this drywall, metal tile, right? With they put all the shit behind it, just like they would regular tile, except to put metal on top of it, right? Circa 1950s. The people that built my fucking house originally were stoned. They were absolutely fucking stoned. Yeah. They were like draft dodgers from the Korean War or whatever. But everything is made out of metal and everything is not the right size. So these fuckers that came in to flip the fucking house didn't bother to let's tear out these walls and put up new walls. Oh no, they put up 1/2-inch fucking drywall on top of the 1/2-inch drywall and the fucking metal tile. So now here's Dave.
3 layers.
Here's Dave with a 3-pound sledge thinking this is going to be plenty to fucking take out this fucking drywall. Boom, hit it. I have to slam the fucking hammer into it. The sledgehammer into it to fucking break through this shit. And everywhere. I basically, by taking out 3/4 of the walls in that room, I've increased the square footage of my fucking house because I almost guarantee almost all the walls are like that.
Right. Oh, you think in the whole house?
Probably any one of them that look like halfway decent. And look, we're actually thinking about doing it in another room, but doing 1/4 inch over top.
Sure.
But these assholes, they fucking went to put a new light fixture in, right? Light fixture's old. It's got some, rust on it. It's just some cheap fucking thing that's up there. Let's put a nice fixture up there. Take the old fixture out. There's a fucking, all right, so here's the hole. Picture a hole. You know, if I say gang box, you know what I'm talking about? It has nothing to do with an orgy. So here's the hole, right? For the gang box. And then there's a fucking channel like this running next to it with the fucking wires that are cut in half. Okay, here's the new drywall, and they cut it like a channel for the wire to lay so that they can fucking put that fixture up there. Instead of, again, opening that up and fucking putting it in properly, because had they done that, they would have realized it was on a fucking joist hanger. They could have just slid it over to the stud. Another thing, the fucking house has 2x6s for studs. So everything is non-standard. Let's have fucking 1 inch of drywall on the fucking walls. Let's put 2x6s in the walls for fucking studs and make what probably could be a fucking 2,300 square foot house into 1,800 square feet because you're using the wrong size fucking lumber. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Unfucking believable. And the people that flip the fucking house are like, fuck it. It's going to be somebody else's problem. Bang. Yeah. Right. So we get a new light. Hooray. We got a new light fixture, right? Go to put it in. Realize that the fucking light is going to hit the vanity.
Oh, no.
The vanity mirror when it opens and the medicine thing. Well, all right, fuck. Let's turn it upside down. Go to turn it upside down. No, not going to happen. As it was, I already had to go out and I got the rounding table out and I fucking fabricated a piece of wood to put up on the fucking wall to put the light onto because a giant fucking hole that they left. Right. So I already did all that. Now I got the light fixture upside down. It doesn't fucking work. We're going to Home Depot. This was yesterday. We're going to Home Depot. We're buying another fucking vanity. Another mirror. Go find a mirror. Go to put it in. Oh, the fucking hole is non-standard. They didn't use a standard size fucking hole. So now I got to cut into said 2x6 fucking stud because they didn't locate anything properly. So now I'm stuck using their fuckface thing. The jury rigging that was happening in this fucking house, just in this one room to make that shit happen. So yeah, fucking my hands are completely shot, my fucking legs, my back, and I didn't even do all the work. You know who did all the work? Most of it was Kathy.
Yeah.
I put up a lot of the green board, which, oh, by the way, put in the fucking green board. It looks good, right? Got the green board up, cut the pieces all fit. All right, perfect. Right? Go to put the walls in because we did the plastic walls, fiberglass walls.
Sure.
Go to put the walls in, doesn't fit. You know why it doesn't fit? Because it's designed to go right to the studs, not to the fucking green board. So now we're cutting out the pieces of green board that fit in there so nicely, and just nonstop fuckery, nonstop. and it's still expensive as shit. Like you think you're saving money by doing it yourself, and you're still fucking like money. And we still have to do fucking floor. I still got to put trim in there. And it's like,
That's why they call homes the money pit.
Fuck me. And so back to people who flip houses, how they can go fuck themselves is legitimately because of shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you threw something together and threw a coat of paint on it because it was going to look slightly better than the circa 1950 shit. I get it. But put a goddamn claw hammer into the wall and take that old shit out. Would have been just as easy to put new stuff up.
Yeah, as opposed to just fuck it, we'll just put it right on top of the old stuff.
Dude, you should have seen it. There was like, all right, here's the thing. It doesn't fit like that. All right, let's screw a board into the wall. All right, well, we need 2 boards. That board was too thin. All right, put another board on top of that. It still doesn't fit. Let's put another board on top of that. So I got a board screwed inside of a board, screwed inside of a board, screwed into the fucking stud behind the goddamn vanity. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
What the hell? So, I mean, long story short, well, too late.
It's too late. It's a Dave story.
Is your bathroom gonna feel so much bigger when you're done?
It already does. So, like, just by recessing the mirror and like with a different light fixture, we brightened it. Like, we put brighter paint on the walls to like, and it feels like a bigger room. It really does. So
that's crazy.
The moral of the story is fucking hire somebody, because fuck that bullshit.
Yeah.
You start getting waist deep into that. I'm still coughing up fucking drywall from doing all that shit, especially having to cut the shit out yesterday. Oh, here's the best part. So the walls are compromised, right? What are you thinking about? Like wet mold, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in full mode remediation mode, right? I got duct tape. I'm sealing this place up like we're having a fucking shelter in place.
Right.
Got the bathroom sealed up. I got the respirator on. Everybody saw that. Fucking open up the walls. No mold.
Wow.
Or hardly any. Certainly not what we were expecting.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is probably a godsend that there was 2 fucking layers of drywall along with the metal fucking insulator. Keeping the mold out. Nice. So anyway, that's what I've been fucking doing.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, just real quick, fuck that bathroom. I still got at least 2 weekends of work left in that bathroom, by the by.
Oh, really?
Easily. But it's finishing work now. It's just, but
yeah.
And I gotta put in a floor, which I haven't done. So I'm a little nervous about that. But anyway.
All right. Well, so Isaac, for some reason, thinks that I made him buy some Star Wars games. I don't know where he got the idea that you were
fairly forceful about that.
I might have been a little aggressive in like, hey, this is a good time to buy these, but everybody makes their own decisions. I don't know where this is coming from.
So buying stuff, we got Star Wars Infinities. You probably can't see. Oh, you can see them. Yeah. You can see them just over there. So I had a couple figures that I hadn't bought, and I snagged off of eBay pretty cheap.
Really?
So I finished the ones that I want. I didn't have Luke. I didn't have Vader. I didn't have Darth Maul. Got those off of eBay.
Yeah, Vader's probably the best out of all.
Yeah, that's it. The Vader ones is really good. I like all of them. They're great. They're great figures. Yeah, they really are. So I did that. Again, I have to give it a separate shout out to Kathy, because she did so much work. Like I worked my body basically to failure. I have you now. I worked my body basically to failure, and she like did the put up the last bit of drywall that wasn't up. She put the did this taping and the putting the mud up on the wall. She did all the painting, mainly because she doesn't like how I do it, but regardless,
hey, whatever, man.
She did all that stuff. So yeah, gotta have a huge shout out to the wife for doing it, because I couldn't. And yeah, my last little bit is like, fuck whatever it is this fucking thing is that has me so fucked up.
Yeah,
legitimately last week when because I couldn't go into work, I had legit Lego hands. Yeah. Like this hand couldn't go I couldn't make a fist. It took me until Thursday to make a fucking fist.
So we're talking more the arthritis-y thing, not so much the chronic fatigue, but
it's all of it, dude. It's all of it. It's the fibromyalgia, it's the fucking chronic fatigue, it's the PTSD, it's the anxiety, it's the fucking arthritis, it's everything. Just molds itself into one big fucking shit show to the point where, again, we're sidebarring, but it's still our week, and we have time.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a tropical depression. So my dog fucking pretty much potentially, was saved my life yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, so I got my puppy, Holly Ray.
Though she's probably not much of a puppy anymore, right?
No, she's 7 months old, so she's still a puppy. They're puppies up to like a year or so.
Yeah, but she's probably pretty big. But anyway.
She's relatively large.
Yeah.
Hoping she gets a little bit bigger. But so I'm outside, I'm doing shit. I did some shit in the house, came outside, did some shit in the yard, and I was fucking around, had to move Kate's car because all the bags of garbage have to get to the curb. So I'm like, I'm going to get it out on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dragging all the shit out and then decide, well, I'm tired of looking at the fucking shrubs overgrown. So let me get this out and fucking start doing the shrubs. And, I was getting ready to clean up stuff or whatever. And I basically just said, I'm done. Like I have to go. I have to lay down on the ground like now. So, in my brain, I was just like, I'm just going to find some shade and lay down. Right. So I'm laying on the ground and Holly comes over to the fence. I'm like right near the fence line and she's like looking at me and she starts, barking hysterically. I never lost consciousness or anything. I was just like, I didn't have the energy to move.
Right.
Like, I was completely just wiped out. So the dog's going nuts, right? So, which prompts everyone in the house to go like, what's she going nuts about? So Caitlin comes out front, sees me laying on the lawn. And then, they got me in the house and cooled me off. I was pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess some of the medication I'm on really affects me for like working, like exerting myself and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I was, I've been on record and I'm on public record now as to say that the only way you're going to get me in a fucking hospital is unconscious. So it came fairly close yesterday. So,
so you're talking like heat exhaustion? Like what?
I think it probably, I think it would be more along the lines of just because of the medication, dehydrating me a little bit. I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of it specifically. And that my problem is that I go until failure.
Right.
That's it. Just go. And all of a sudden it's like,
yeah,
I'm a fucking
shutting down.
Yeah. Droid. So I'm going to shut down for a while. So anyway, yeah, fucking my dog, fucking the best.
Yeah. Dogs are great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. So moving on, are we ready to get to our main topic today?
I don't know. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we've been going for over an hour. So,
sounds about right.
So yeah.
Hey, well, look, we had catching up to do. We didn't get to the tape.
That's true. We're catching up on 2 weeks worth of what we've been doing.
Yeah,
so
2 weeks of bullshitting.
Yep, and news and whatnot.
And before we get going, I really
okay. Show them, not me.
Has to happen. I gotta do it.
All right. Well,
right now.
That being the case, then we will be right back after this word from our sponsors. I'm glad he did that because I had to pee too, so I wasn't going to say anything. All right. Nice shirt, Jason. Pessimistic or a realist. Niners may have one or two wins. Ah, come on, Scott. You got to be more positive than that. I'm guessing 9 and 7 at the least. Yeah. Get a light. Okay, Brady, what is up with the lightsaber thing? I've been seeing all the posts you've been making in the private Facebook group. What is going on with that, with the lightsaber stuff? I need to know. I'm like Mark Anthony. I need to know. It's a reference from 99. Some of you children may not get. Oh, Tom, you do flooring? Shit. Come to Jersey and do my house. I like tile. I don't like hardwood floor. Because hardwood floor you got to take care of. And it's like, I just want to beat the shit out of whatever's in my house. Including, never mind. I amuse myself too much. Man, he really had to pee. Oh, let me see if I cut any of those fucking groundhogs.
Big leave peeing right there.
Yeah, I could tell. I'm like, man, he's been out there for a while. Might as well go now too. Well, let me just check my trap.
Would you just? Did you tell everybody that you're trapping fucking
groundhogs now?
Groundhogs. He's gonna make a fur coat out of them. Woo! Let's see. Let me catch up on the chat here. Ultra Sabers. Big Lovin', did you get your fucking saber yet? Look here. Did you get your saber yet? Because fucking hell. I want one so bad. I want an Ultra Saber so bad. I don't know why I'm saying it and then typing it. Because you're already hearing it. But now I guess it's for prosperity. Woo, shit. I should have been paying attention, I guess. Attendees or, man, I just got, the fly just buzzed the tower. Oh, that fucker. Spell recipients. Never mind.
Okay. We good?
Sure.
All right, let's do 15 to 20 seconds of silence starting now. And we're back. So,
Fucking fly.
I know, right? So, Phantom Menace, 20 fucking year anniversary. Honestly, thinking about the fact that this movie is 20 goddamn years old it's blowing my mind. It's fucking depressing. It's all kinds of emotions all wrapped into one.
Yeah.
The fact that this movie is 20 years old, because I mean, we might as well get into it. I remember like every part of this movie when it first came out. I remember the buildup. I remember seeing the first fucking trailer on, what was it, Entertainment Tonight, back in like the fall of 98.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second trailer that came out in like January of that year or February. I remember all of this excitement, all of the hype. I've talked about it before, about fucking going to Toys R Us at midnight when they released the fucking toys for this thing, and going out, and I still have a lot of these, but buying like multiple copies of Darth Maul and fucking Palpatine and, you know, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, all these fucking things. There was so much anticipation for the Phantom Menace when it came out from, you know, people like you and I who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, who grew up on nothing but fucking Star Wars, and it was our lives. And this was the first Star Wars movie we were getting in 16 years, and it was fucking great. So much build up, so much anticipation. This was, from what I remember, this was the first movie ever that had so much anticipation that they did a midnight launch, so to speak, where, you know, the first, it came out on May 19th was the official release date.
Right.
So the first showing was like 12:01 a.m. Thursday night / Friday morning,
right,
on May 19th or whatever day of the week it fucking was. And I went, and this was long before all you spoiled motherfuckers got to just go on your fucking phones and go, yeah, I want tickets for this day. I'll pick these seats. Good to go. No, you had to go make sure you got there fucking early enough so you could get in line and hopefully be one of the lucky people to get a ticket and then really get a good seat for these fucking movies.
Yeah.
So, and you know, this was the beginning of things, like I said, midnight launches of hotly anticipated movies and things like that. It was Star Wars, and the buildup was fucking huge. And the reception we'll talk about a little bit later, but I know for me, and I put these notes in here, I saw it on, you know, at midnight at the Regal Burlington Mall. So the Regal Cinemas in Burlington, New Jersey, which I don't even know if that fucking theater is still open. I know the mall closed.
Oh, I think the theater is still there because it's behind the Target.
Yeah.
Or no, behind the Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, like
yeah, and
that thing
across
back
from
there.
the mall, which the mall recently closed. Which,
yeah, the mall's done. Man.
Yeah, which by the way, that mall, the Burlington Mall, is where I met my wife Kristen for the first time. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of crazy memories around that time. But yeah, I went with Kristen, who was just my new girlfriend at the time. I think her and I started dating like at the end of '97. So we'd been dating for like a year and a half at that point.
Is it really new after a year and a half, though?
I don't know. It's like
I don't think so, man.
Going back and thinking about it,
I feel like people get married fucking quicker than that.
Yeah, they do. But some people date for 10 years and don't get married. So I don't know. I don't fucking know. I was not
the first thing to pop in my head is not a good thing.
Yeah, I was not a relationship expert at that point, but I went with Kristen and my good friend Jim, anal guy that I've talked about on the show before. So yeah, it was the three of us. We went and we saw it. And,
Anal Jim, 6 points.
Yeah,
I don't think you released his first name before.
No, I think I've always said his first name. I don't
think so.
I've made a point to not say his last name, to not expose him.
That was the first time I've heard Jim associated with anal.
Okay, well, either way,
it's tough to like with something as like devastating as anal is, and to go into a lengthy diatribe about it. I would think that I'd associate a name with that. Just saying.
Okay, well, either way.
So the jig is up, Jim.
Yeah. So my old friend, who, by the way, is still in the Air Force, who used to like to date girls long enough to be able to convince them to do anal with him, and then would move on. Yeah, I went with him because he was a huge Star Wars fan at the time too. And yeah, I had work the next morning. I still remember like fucking just dragging ass that next day on May 19th because midnight. 2.5 hour movie, fucking don't get done until 2:30, definitely don't get home until about 3 a.m. That's enough time to fucking lay down, sleep for 2 hours, then I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember just being fucking just wrecked that next morning at work. And this was here at McGuire.
Yeah, because Star Wars, not because you're out fucking pushing it up drinking or anything.
No,
because you're fucking going out and seeing Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I was sober as shit. But I can remember in a daze as people were asking me, okay, well, how was it? I'm like, the fucking lightsaber battle was incredible, and there were a couple other cool things, and not really dwelling too much on like the negative things that have kind of plagued it over the decades since its release. But yeah, I've also talked about on the show that May 19th is my sister's birthday, and that was the first year because I had joined the Air Force in '96. That was the first year since I had left home that I forgot to call my sister on her birthday because her and I were always really close growing up, and
up until then
I would well, yeah, you make a point because up until then I had always made a point on her birthday I'd call her, we'd have a good conversation, we talk and whatnot, and after that, yeah, I completely forgot, and I don't think our relationship was ever really the same after that.
Phantom Menace, ruiner of relationships.
Yeah, and we had talked about it before, so I'll bring it up now. 99 was really a fucking incredible year for me. And you probably have a much different perspective on this, but for me, this was like my last year of, I guess, freedom in my 20s. So, Kristen and I were dating. We had an apartment together. We both had decent jobs, and it was just us. And it was fucking every weekend we were going to see a movie, all during the week. We each had our own computers and we were playing computer games and we were fucking doing all kinds of crazy shit. We were absorbing all of the fucking entertainment that was being thrown our way. And we were going out to dinner every other night, and life was fucking great. When you're in your early 20s, we were both 23, 22 at the time. That was the epitome of our young single life together before the dark times. But no, I mean, like, I have such fond memories about 99. Like, every single song that came out that year, every single movie that came out that year, all the video games that I played that year, they're still all etched in my brain because that was, like I said, like my last year of the innocence of my young adult life. Because that very next January of 2000, is when I separated from the Air Force. My best friend died, and then all of 2000 and a majority of 2001 were just like fucking terrible years for me. And then right after that, our first son was born. So really, 99 was, like I said, just like the last like fucking just great memory I have of like that was an entire year where we were just fucking living life, and enjoying everything. And
had a Star Wars movie to boot.
Exactly. And Star Wars was sandwiched right in the middle of that.
Yep. So it's interesting. Rewind back to you're talking about the fact that this thing is 20 years old and how kind of boggling that is.
Mm-hmm.
You think about in 97 when they did the re-releases, right? That's the 20 years from when New Hope came out, and so they did the special edition release in the theater.
Right. Yep.
Right. And how did people feel then? Like, it's been 20 years, since we've seen the movies, and now there's Star Wars in our life again, and then kind of go into 99, and like what happened in 97, I think brought Star Wars, like you talk about it being so anticipated for when episode 1 came out and a new trilogy was being made and things like that. The toy releases for after they did the theater releases in 97, like
like that new action figure set,
you had
and everything.
Toys. I mean, I got all of the Micro Machines, Star Wars toys, and I need to bring one in, just because it'd be fun to play with.
Yeah.
So you had all the toys and everything, and it's like the ramp up in the 99 for me. Like you're talking about your fast and free 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I got married the first week of 99.
Yeah.
On my wife's birthday. So I got married. Then I deployed for Operation Northern Watch.
Yeah.
I came back from Northern Watch and was working at my computer office space type job, and then got activated for Bosnia.
Mm-hmm.
And then after it activated for Bosnia, I became active duty.
Yep.
So when I went to active duty job, that was the beginning. Kate was born in October of that year.
Yeah, you already had Jeff at that point.
We already had Jeff. So Kate was born in October of that year. We moved on to base, and we became an active duty family with everything that goes with that. So it was definitely a transition period for us, because we kind of like made it official by getting married and taking this job. Really wasn't sure what we were going to do.
Yeah.
We were living in an apartment, and I worked the night shift and she worked during the day.
Oof.
So we didn't really see each other.
I
had a huge drinking problem.
Did you?
Huge drinking problem.
Wow.
Because after we'd be at CompuCom from 3 to 11, and then from 11 o'clock we go close a bar.
Yeah.
And then the amount of drunkenness, me coming back into the house that Kathy had to deal with was just ridiculous.
Mm. I think we're also getting to the root of your health problems, maybe.
If I had cirrhosis of the liver and shit like that, then I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
But I've got a good solid Irish liver.
Oh, there you go.
Solid, like literally solid, which probably doesn't mean it's good.
Either way.
Yeah, so talk about turning points. For Phantom Menace, I legitimately forget where I saw it first. I can make assumptions, but so much life was happening in May of 1999.
Yeah.
Like we got activated, got back from the deployment, was home for a bit, and then I started getting on orders because of the ramp up for the Bosnia shit.
Sure.
Probably around this time frame.
Yeah.
So I was, going on orders to be up at the base and going there most of the time, and just the transiting back and forth and still trying to be on schedule and, and make sure my son's taken care of and all that stuff. It was the beginning of just the craziness that was life.
Mm.
And meanwhile, Kathy's pregnant. So like kind of prepping for that, and then realizing that like, okay, I've got this job at the computer thing, but where are we going from here? Like there's going to have to be an investment either in staying in something like that and getting advanced certification so I can make more money.
Yeah.
Or leaving that job and going to do something else. I've told the stories about the Bell Atlantic job.
Yeah. Like what's the end game at that point?
Yeah, exactly. So, go do that. And then the active duty opportunity was coming up too with the unit that I ended up retiring out of. So I had all these kind of moving parts at once, and Star Wars was there, but it wasn't a bright shining like beacon of like, wow, because Kathy and I, we didn't have time to date.
Yeah,
really. We saw each other occasionally. Like my in-laws, took care of the kids most of the time. When in the transition from when she was finished work and then I would leave, there was always a car to work on because I had shit cars, and up until I became a master sergeant, really.
Yeah.
So there's always like something going on, and that was adulting. Like adulting started for me in 99.
Right.
So Star Wars didn't have that beacon.
That's such a fascinating dynamic too.
Yeah.
The difference in our lives at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you look at it now, like right now you're dealing with like teenagers and high schooling and everyone coming into that, where my kids are firing away from that.
Yeah.
Like we got, you know, a couple of semesters of college loans to figure out, and apartments and where kids are in their lives and where they're going. And as parents, the stress of how are the kids okay? You know, did we do enough? And can we help them? You know, will they let us help them? You know, so it gets to that, like those stressors. And this podcast is really my medium to stay connected to the Star Wars universe, because otherwise it'd be there because there's so much Star Wars now.
Mhm.
So much more than what there was in 99, because things are so much more prevalent, you know?
Yeah.
But without our relationship and this podcast, it wouldn't be like a hub of part of what goes on in my life, you know, like, okay, this thing has to happen. You know, basically every week for the past, you know, 100 and some odd weeks, you know, going over 2 years now.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I find it fascinating though, the fact that you don't even remember like the specifics of when you saw it for the first time, because for me, again, because of where I was in my life, I still remember what it looked like standing in line waiting for them to let us in. I still remember the feeling going and sitting in that seat for the first time with the people that were around me, exactly which theater I was in and all that. Like that's still all like fresh in my head, because it was such a, I don't know, I had like a powerful experience. But for you, it was, you know, kind of secondary to everything else that was going on in your life.
Like I have to see it, because like, yeah, Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And I made it a point to make sure that I saw it, but it wasn't like, so much other stuff. Like you talk about some of the novels that you had read at the time, and like there was books out there that were going on, and I didn't have any situational awareness on that at all. You know, I was too busy.
Yeah, because at that point I had read the original Thrawn trilogy, the Jedi Academy trilogy, the Corellian trilogy. You know, I had read a shitload of the books that were out. I was, you know, balls deep into Star Wars at that point, because what else do I have going on in my life? You know, I got my girlfriend at the time, and you know, things going great with her. She doesn't mind this Star Wars habit I have. So, and like you said, and I think this is kind of an understated point, but the fact that the special editions came out in 97, that really kind of helped whet our appetite a little bit and get us ready for the Phantom Menace, because I don't know how successful that would have been without those special editions being released, honestly, because it kind of reminded people, yes, this is a thing that, remember, you love this. And here, we're going to reintroduce you to this entire trilogy in theaters before we drop off this new trilogy.
Yeah. And you think it gave the opportunity to like get generations involved in it. Like you had a generation that now has kids that are able to get themselves involved in the toys. And I think there was always a collector's market, but then all of a sudden that market grows bigger.
Yeah.
Because now you have adults with, you know, some would say disposable income, but sometimes it's not disposable. Not nearly as disposable as it should be.
Well, it is funny you mentioned that too, because I just read an article on Forbes today talking about Galaxy's Edge that's opening in Disneyland.
Oh my God.
This month. And they're talking about
11 days.
It's basically for rich white men or not even rich white men, rich men, rich middle-aged men, because we're the ones who grew up on it. We have the fucking money to reserve, you know, spots.
I don't have the money, but I will. But I will have that money.
A lot of people from our generation, you know, are, you know, somewhat successful and can afford to go and spend all this money at Galaxy's Edge this first month, when it's like fucking ridiculous to get in and expensive and all that. But
I can't wait. That'll be a podcast topic, because, you know, once the doors are open, all the shit that's in there is going to flood out.
Oh yeah.
So there's going to be a lot to talk to about that. But we're talking about the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Look at me bringing us back to the main point.
Exactly.
Which is, I'm usually the one throwing us off. What are you looking for?
Something to write on.
What's the matter?
No.
He's actually writing a legit note. Anyway, so.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, we talked about when we saw it. Now, before we get into the movie itself, you also mentioned the 3D re-release that happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself for not going to see this when it came out. Even though you did mention it was a little bit on the underwhelming side,
Yeah.
I think it's still noteworthy, at least.
It was an opportunity for my, because Kate and Jeff both, they got to see a Star Wars movie in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest thing for me. Is like, I want to get my kids into the theater to see Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because, Jeff was a fucking infant, in 97, and I was in Biloxi anyway. So it didn't matter. Like, I didn't have the opportunity to take him if I wanted to. And, he was still fairly young in 99. And when 2 and 3 were coming out, too young to really appreciate a movie.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and not that we're going to get into it here, but episodes 2 and 3, I saw TDY.
Right.
Like, I was TDY when I saw him for the first time. So
and I think you have mentioned that before.
Yeah. So in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, of all places, for when episode 2 came out. But regardless, so episode 1 coming out on 3D was like, okay, they're going to re-release this stuff in 3D. Great opportunity for my kids to see these movies in the theater.
Yeah.
And, we did. And it was episode 1 with a couple of 3D things.
Yeah.
And I get into it here. Might as well like kick it off with it. Watching episode 1, like now, and even like when I've watched it in the past, it's the Lego. It's the Lego game. It's the it's Lego Star Wars. That's all I can see. Like when I see fucking a Tatooine, and I see the spaceport and I see the Naboo shit. Like that's all in my mind. All I think about is the Lego Star Wars. And Lego Star Wars had a way, like for me, actually had a way bigger impact for me remembering things out of Phantom Menace than the fucking movie did.
Sure.
Well, and we're going to talk about the documentary later, but I didn't see that till much later in life. But Lego Star Wars is what hammered home like characters and where they were and some of the scenes and set pieces, because it kind of does roll along with the movie.
Yeah, it does. It's just in a more comical way.
Yeah.
Like I didn't play a whole lot of that Lego Star Wars, but I do specifically remember when they were in the hangar in the very beginning, when they came in to do the negotiations and they blew up the ship and the ship fucking shatters and it's just the 2 people sitting there and then they drop and But yeah, I didn't play that Lego game nearly as much, but I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Because we might as well talk about this now. The reception wasn't good.
Yeah.
Initially. And for me, it took a few viewings for me to realize, like, I don't know if this is really that good. And honestly, my opinion has changed a little bit, like, especially with this most recent viewing. But back then, fuck, man, after a couple of viewings and you see like all the slapsticky shit with Jar Jar and fucking Anakin and just like,
well, there's a point in the first half hour of the movie where if you just took out Jar Jar, the goofy bullshit with Jar Jar, you're eliminating probably 15 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
That's how much of it was. And when I was watching it this most recent time, I put in here fucking, well, we'll get into that here in a second, like as we start breaking down a movie a little bit, but if we're even going to do that, because what the fuck. But it's fucking annoying.
It is.
It starts that way, and it sets the tone for what otherwise could be a decent movie.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for it. There's no reason. I call this movie the stereotype movie.
Oh yeah.
You have the Neimoidians, that's the Japanese. They might as well roll their R's just like that.
We lost the transmission, sir.
And they're wearing the fucking headdresses and everything else. It's just like, come on, fucking
yeah.
Well,
and then think about Watto. Fucking like, apparently he's like a big Jewish stereotype.
Yeah,
it's like holy money.
Yeah,
it's Jesus Christ,
like,
man.
It just is poor. Like that. That's just, to me. If we just talk about characters for a minute, we're gonna leak into just talking about the movie. But all the backlash against Anakin, the kid, what's his name?
Jake Lloyd.
Yes, Lloyd, about the portrayal of the fucking child. It's a fucking child.
Yeah, he was an 8-year-old kid.
When you have 8-year-old kids and you look and go like, yeah, that's how probably an 8-year-old kid would act. And if you're giving an 8-year-old kid a shit line, guess what? It's going to be an 8-year-old kid saying a shit line.
Yeah.
So I looked at it this time with more of I was watching it from an analytical perspective, because we're doing a podcast about it.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm like, are you an angel? Like, a kid would say some shit like that.
Yeah.
An 8-year-old kid would say some shit like that to a fucking, what is she? She
was 16.
16 years
Trust
old.
me, I've got the noted here.
I saw it.
Pedo Padme.
Yeah.
That's coming up. So
Jesus, the lips,
So, all right. So we're going to break this down a little bit differently. We're not going to go scene by scene and dissect the entire movie. I put talking points, some bullet points, things that I wanted to cover. You added a couple of things also. So we're going to talk about those because quite frankly, we just don't have fucking time.
I got some stuff I definitely want to talk about.
So,
we finally got to the Star Wars portion of the Star Wars podcast.
Yes. First of all, this is an overarching thing. This isn't in any of my notes. I'm going to say this. I've shit on this movie pretty heavily for the last 20 years. Rewatching it this time, I didn't hate it. You know, I've dogged Phantom Menace quite a bit over the years. I watched it the first time in theaters. I'm like, oh, okay, that was pretty good. Second time, I'm like, I don't know about some of that. Third time, I'm like, oh no, what is going on? And honestly, since it came out on video, on DVD, I probably watched it like 2 more times after it came out on DVD. Haven't watched it all the way through since. So I probably haven't watched this movie start to finish probably since like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
Maybe 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out to refresh myself. But that's it. Like I haven't rewatched like the whole movie since then. I've obviously rewatched the fucking lightsaber battle and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
But this was the first time in 15 at least years that I've sat down, watched it start to finish. And I'm watching, I'm like, okay, Jar Jar's pretty fucking annoying. Yes, these stereotype characters are pretty goddamn annoying, but overall, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
If you sit there and you, as like these hardcore Star Wars fans, especially knowing how this trilogy ends with fucking Palpatine, you really see what Lucas was trying to do. Like he put the pieces into place so well. Everything had a purpose. Unlike the fucking Last Jedi, where they just threw shit against the wall. Some of it stuck, some of it dripped down the fucking wall onto the floor. No, every single thing that was in place there was Yeah,
fuck it. We haven't been vulgar in a while, so I had vulgarity pop into my head, so I had to spew it out.
But I mean, honestly, watching it this time, I'm like, I'm actually enjoying this viewing experience. Yes, there are some annoying parts. And like you said, with the Jake Lloyd thing, I really cut him some slack in this one. Like, yeah, I know I dogged on him a lot, but yeah, you look at the situation. Like he was an 8-year-old kid and he was reciting these lines that fucking George Lucas should never have written in the first place. Yeah. So he did his best. And now I really do feel bad for, being an asshole to him all these years.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever really given Jake Lloyd that much shit. I haven't been on that bandwagon, but seeing it this time doesn't change my ranking of the movie because I've always ranked it as this is where we are in the story.
Sure.
Right. And there was enough bad shit. Like the reality is it's still a movie. And if we're rating it in its entirety, the fucking Jar Jar shit still falls into play.
Yeah. It really drags it down.
The stereotyping of the Neimoidians and the fucking, the Trade Federation is illegal, and all that shit. It has a place. It has a place. That was me.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't silence this thing. Silence. I kill you. But at the same time, I'm watching it and going like, okay, there's some really good things. Like one of the things I brought up, or I took a note on, is it's a glimpse back into what technology was like in movie making. Like one thing you can always say about Star Wars is that they're usually on the forefront of what's going on with the technology.
Absolutely.
And I think what Jar Jar was this like just overachieving on the CGI technology. And like, so you see a little bit of overlap in that, but from a movie perspective, the CGI work is fantastic. What I found interesting was like how you had in some of the exterior shots, like the space shots where you still had that like shadowing, like there was definitely like overlapping in film to make motion. Like sometimes with the TIE fighter scenes, like as they're flying in the original movie, you'd see like this little, it's like a shadow.
Yeah.
And you could tell like it's almost like a tile that's flying.
Sure.
but you're in the movie, so you're not really looking for it unless you're looking for it.
Right.
So, so I saw some of that in the exterior shots. And I was like, okay, there's a little bit of 1980s, in here with some of this the 90s CGI stuff.
Sure.
Where they were with the technology, that was probably fucking pretty big deal.
Yeah, and people are so used to CGI the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace fucking holds up to everything that they're putting out right now, and this came out 20 fucking years ago. This was the forefront of CG.
The character. I will say that for the character interactions, not necessarily for like the exterior stuff, because I still think that they probably spent so much money animating Jar Jar and the fucking the boss hog guy and all that shit. They spent so much money that they probably couldn't spend it on the exterior space shots because there wasn't that many.
Yeah.
But they made a kick-ass flying fucking Naboo, J-37 cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was some really good elements to that, and the CGI was good, but I think they spent too much time focusing on character CGI, which is very good.
Yeah.
And left off some other things. So I guess the overall picture that was like Dave Martin's perspective, the movie doesn't change my rankings. However, I appreciate what the movie is. And there was some good parts of this movie. And yes, I don't even want to talk about we shouldn't talk about Padme at all.
Oh, we're talking about Padme.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've got some questions about that too.
All right.
Stand by on that. I'm just going to do one thing really quick. This is go back.
Better not be work.
No.
All right. I'll allow it.
Damn it. Don't talk. Can you bring out one big glass of ice and one big glass of water, please? Question mark. All right. Anyway.
And you will do it.
So you I wouldn't say that. So, all right. So like I said, I broke this down into some talking points because there were some things that really stuck out to me this time with our viewing. And I really wanted to bring these up. Feel free to interject, throw in any topics you want. The first thing that really stuck out to me this time around was Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wrote him off, for the first 20 years of this movie. Like, oh, he was a throwaway Jedi. We make that joke, the worst Jedi ever, with the YouTube video and all that.
Right.
Credits will do fine. No, they won't. But honestly, he was by far the most intriguing character in this whole movie. Him and Palpatine. Ian McDiarmid is a fucking god amongst men, honestly. And we'll get to him. But first of all, Liam Neeson acting his fucking ass off in this movie. With the dialogue that fucking Lucas gave him, Liam Neeson went above and beyond and was like really one of the only bright spots in this fucking movie as far as, acting, dialogue, things like that. And I'm sitting here watching these scenes with Qui-Gon, listening to some of the things he's saying, and I'm like, God, I really wanted more of this guy. Because the things that really stuck out for me was, first of all, his animosity with the Jedi Council.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you watch these scenes, if you go back and you really watch when he goes in front of the council, first when he tells them about the fucking coming across Darth Maul, and then he's talking to Anakin, it seems like every time he talks, it's like Yoda and Mace Windu and fucking Penis Head are all like, fuck, here he goes again. What's fucking Qui-Gon got to say this time?
Right.
Like they're very dismissive of him when he seems to be like one of the only people that really like is kind of sensing what the fuck's going on. And, while the rest of the Jedi Council and even the whole fucking Republic, they're all fat, dumb, and happy in their castle, oh, there's nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. Blah, blah, blah. Qui-Gon seems like the only person who's really with it the whole time. And you watch those scenes with the fucking Jedi Council, especially Mace Windu.
Mm-hmm.
God, I wish we had more interaction between those two, because every time Mace Windu talks to Qui-Gon, he's being very condescending, just like kind of blowing him off, just like, fucking whatever, man. And it's such a weird dynamic, and I just wanted so much more of that.
So Bronco Fett brought up a good point. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
One's for him, one's for me.
Awesome. Thank you.
I figured you'd need more ice.
Yeah, man.
Yours melted very early on. Thank you.
It's hot as fuck in here.
Yeah. So yeah, the Qui-Gon.
So anyway, Bronco Fett brought it up in the chat about the Jedi Lost, read only audible book, audiobook, and the Master and Apprentice.
Mhm.
So I've listened to the Dooku Jedi Lost book,
The whole Dooku book,
the whole one, and I'm halfway through, a little better than halfway through the Master and Apprentice.
Mhm.
They did once you have to listen to these books, not just for the podcast, because what you just said right there is what these books are backing up. Why is he like this? They do a fantastic job, in my opinion, of backing up why the Qui-Gon we see in episode 1, and the only time we see him, why is he like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I did is I did Jedi Lost and then Master and Apprentice. I recommend you do the same.
Okay.
Because we know that Dooku was
Qui-Gon's
master. And I don't even want to get into it.
Okay.
But you have to make it a point to get those downloaded, listen to those on the drive,
right?
And then we can talk about it more. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Sure, yeah, because I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, it is one of my notes. It's when having listened to that book, and the voice guy, by the way, is excellent. His Qui-Gon is very, very good.
We're in the Master and Commander.
Both.
Okay.
Both books.
Okay.
In Master and Commander, and also in Lost Jedi,
right,
or Jedi Lost, or whatever.
Yeah.
It is very, very telling, and I mean, it's some of the extraneous stuff in the book is whatever, but like the Qui-Gon, why is Qui-Gon Qui-Gon? Why is Qui-Gon interact with Obi-Wan this way, and some of that shit? It's like, wow. I think it's one of those things where you're better benefit of, like, if you're a writer and you say, okay, this is the outcome. Let me write, like, I know the answer is 4.
Right.
Let me write 2 + 2 or 3 + 1 or however I'm going to write it. But ultimately, we know what the answer is. And this is probably one of the best representations of that I've had so far.
Because, you mentioned Obi-Wan. There was a really interesting scene between the two of them. This was after they told Qui-Gon, no, we're not going to train this kid as a Jedi, talking about Anakin. And Obi-Wan is kind of being a little bitch. He's like, why don't you just listen to the council? Just do what the council says and they'll make you a master. Just drink the Kool-Aid, master,
You have to. Yes. These books, like, I don't, how many times have I said like in this podcast? Drink. Whoever's playing the drinking game, like, you know, all the shots. Take all the shots right now. There's fucking
I know, it's driving me fucking nuts.
I'll get my assault gun. I'll bring you my assault gun for next time.
Think about importing some spiders. I don't know.
No spiders.
All right. Anyway, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan interaction.
Read the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like the level of interaction, why they interact the way they do, it's all spelled out. Yeah. And it's very like, wow, okay, that makes sense. Like, legit. And like,
the timing couldn't be more perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was starting to say. Like, with the the book release coming with the other stuff was important.
Because these both just came out over the last month, both the Jedi Lost and the fucking Master and Commander. So it's perfect that it kind of coincides with the 20th anniversary.
I love it. You're just calling it Master and Commander.
Whatever.
I love it.
But yeah, and like, I know everybody fucking jizzes over Obi-Wan in the prequels, but in episode 1, Obi-Wan was kind of a pain in the ass. Like, Ewan McGregor, and maybe this was intentional. He was kind of an asshole. He really was more of a Kool-Aid drinker when it came to, the Jedi Council and everything. He was kind of smug at times. He was kind of a dick. Like when Qui-Gon went back to Tatooine to go pick up Anakin, he's like, why do I get the feeling we're picking up another pathetic life form? It's like, well, go fuck yourself. All right. You gotta
listen to these books. I'm telling you, you gotta listen to these books.
But I mean, those interactions though are things that I didn't really pick up on in the first viewings of this. Like, I just kind of took them for what they were, and I didn't really think about them and analyze them. And since seeing how the trilogy concludes, I never went back to rewatch it again to think, oh man.
You're going to rewatch it again after you listen to those books. You're going to watch it again, and you're going to be paying more attention to Qui-Gon and Anakin's, or Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's interaction than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important what we're really lucky to have right now, and maybe not everybody makes this connection, and I'll see if you do, but I feel like you have some puzzle pieces that are falling into place that for okay, while we lose Qui-Gon after this movie, we gain the progression of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think the episode 2 portrayal of Obi-Wan is the most annoying. I think that his portrayal here, even before reading the audiobooks or listening to the audiobooks or whatever, go fuck yourself. My fucking Tourette's. Spiders? I'm lost. I'm lost. What am I doing? Oh my god.
Well, you're talking about Obi-Wan's attitude in episode 1 and how it's shaped.
I didn't mind him in episode 1. I think that episode 1 he's a Padawan.
Yeah.
Like this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the guy who is this old man. I always had issues with the age of Obi-Wan by the time he got to be Obi-Wan Kenobi in Tatooine.
Yeah.
Tatooine or whatever.
It's because, Lucas in the timeline and the way he kind of made everything flow, it was just kind of
I get that, but you had if you're George Lucas in 1970 whatever, and you have an opportunity to get a guy like Ewan
McGregor,
no,
Alec Guinness,
thank you. Fuck. Did you see that? Did you see the fucking did you see the squirrel stop moving in my fucking brain? That was I
can see the monkey with the in your head just
fuck me, man. Yeah, you got Alec Guinness in like, oh, this is the guy. This guy. I'm not going to young him up. I want the beard. I want the wizened old man.
Sure, yeah.
To come out like this, almost like a wizard type portrayal with the robe and everything else. Remember, this could have only been one movie.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand about the timing, and Obi-Wan is a little bit older. Once you get through the books and you kind of see where the age timeline is before we get to episode 1, he is an older Padawan.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because he was like just about ready for the fucking trials at this point. So he was about ready to
whatever the fucking trials are. Oh, by the way, what are the trials?
That's a good question.
What are the fucking trials?
I'm sure in some Legends material it's probably been explained, but now in current canon.
Yeah. Well, the trials are different. Obviously, they're different for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's not like one thing. It's not like go run this obstacle course and then you're fucking and then there you go.
You're a Jedi.
Yeah, we got a pair of scissors at the back of it and clip. Congratulations. Hooray.
Yeah.
Get rid of that fucking stupid tail.
So really quick, because we're still on the first bullet point. Anything else on Qui-Gon before we move on?
There's no bullet points up there, Jason.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at my iPad. Sorry.
All right. Well, I have my notes here along with it. See,
okay.
My setup's a little bit different than yours. Yeah. I got a little bit more going on.
Oh, I didn't show you, by the way, my double tree notes on episode 1. I wrote a lot of fucking notes as I was watching it, by the way, which we're not going to get to hardly any of this.
No, but it's important. I stopped taking notes. I got to a point where it's just like, okay.
Yeah. So another thing that I wrote down, this is going to be kind of a short one. That's what she said. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Oh. We talk a lot about the original trilogy and the special editions, about how a lot of us feel like Lucas fucked it up. It's like, the Greedo shooting first and the awkward Jabba the Hutt, and can we just get our theatrical cuts back? Then you go to episode 1, where he made some edits later on with the Blu-ray version that I have and with the version that I bought on iTunes, which, oh, by the way, I had to pay for it again on iTunes because I was in California. I'm like, fuck, I don't have my Blu-rays. All right, fuck it. I'll just pay another $20, even though I own the goddamn thing already. So now I own Phantom Menace on iTunes forever. Anyway,
it's okay.
He went back and he fucked with Yoda because the Yoda that we saw
was awful.
Yeah, it was not good. It was a full-blown puppet, but it looked so different.
Like how it was how do we make Yoda younger? Yeah. For the benefit of this, and what they made was a really, really just shitty puppet.
Yeah, it was strange.
That puppet wouldn't have fucking made it into any kid show. I think the Yaddle fucking from Robot Chicken was probably a better representation of Yoda than this was.
And yeah, since then, obviously Lucas has gone back. He went back before he sold the franchise. and put in a CG Yoda that looks pretty much identical to the Yoda that they used in episodes 2 and 3.
And that is the case where, yes, it is an improvement.
Yeah.
It's a definite improvement because the Yoda was very off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Like, it just didn't move right. It just looked bad.
Yeah.
And so they did what they did. I mean, it was... We're going to probably talk about at the end, but the making of documentary here, where you look at, okay, here's all of these things, all these storyboards and the things that we can focus on, and like, we're throwing money at this, we can't throw money at that,
Mm-hmm.
So it gets to a point where you have to. Some places got cut, and I think the Yoda department was one of them.
Yeah,
they had Frank Oz do the voice.
Right. Well, Frank Oz did all the puppetry too, for that original Yoda.
Yeah. Good hand, shit puppet.
Yeah. And
that's probably,
but it's just ironic that the fact that we're such purists in the fact that we want the theatrical cuts of the original trilogy, but I am perfectly fine with these changes he made to Yoda in episode 1, which is,
I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like.
Yeah.
And fuck you if you don't agree.
So before I move on to my next bullet point, do you have any bullet points you want to throw out there?
What's your next bullet point?
Pedo Padme.
All right. Well, yeah, as far as the puppet, I've already said enough. I actually think I have a picture of that puppet. I'm digging into my Facebook profile.
Yeah, and you can go onto YouTube too, and you can see, you can search the changes from episode 1.
I'm trying to see if,
side by side.
So when we've talked about it before, like the Franklin Institute down the road had the Star Wars exhibit, and I want to say it had a Yoda puppet there, and I can't for the life of me remember if it was one of the original ones, but I'll search for this while we're moving on to the next bullet point.
Okay.
Padme.
Okay, so
heavy petting Padme.
So first of all, Padme in general, she was one of the issues that I've always had with this movie, only because of the weird fucking accent that she has, but only when she's the fucking queen. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so we know Keira Knightley was like her stunt double decoy type person,
right?
And she is British. Whenever we see fucking Natalie Portman in the makeup, or even when it's the decoy, it sounds like it's the same voice. It's kind of like a robot-y British accent. Like, is that always Keira Knightley talking? Like,
I don't think so. No, because the first Padme that you see is when she's talking to the Viceroy.
Right, and it is Natalie Portman in the makeup, but did they use the Keira Knightley voice?
I feel like it's her voice.
Okay.
I feel like it's Natalie Portman's voice. I could be totally wrong. Somebody in the chat, let us know.
Yeah, I'd really like to find that out for sure. But holy shit, man! As I'm watching it this time around, obviously knowing where things go from here, you really start to see some like real pedo tendencies in fucking Padme as she's interacting with this 8-year-old Anakin. Now, I don't know what ages they were supposed to be in these.
I thought he was supposed to be like 8.
Yeah, but Jake Lloyd was 8 and she was 16 at the time. Now, I don't know if like storyline wise they were supposed to be a little bit closer. I don't know. Fucking creepy though, man. There were so many times that she has these like fucking like loving glances at him and all that. There's this time where they're on like a fucking camel, and
it's not. It's the puppet is one of the.
That looks like one of the originals.
Yeah, that's one of the originals.
Yeah. But yeah, there's this fucking.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a picture of my daughter with the Yoda puppet.
Yeah. But goddamn, there's this scene where like they're riding a fucking camel together. He's in the front, she's in the back. She's got her fucking arms around him and they're giggling and laughing. I'm just like, God damn, this is creepy. And when they're celebrating after the pod race, she comes up to him and fucking hugs him and just.
That's like the back view of it.
Yeah,
that's the legit
really
puppet.
Good. Yeah.
So the Force being the Force and knowing that they get together ultimately, do you think that this is the Force like drawing them together regardless of the age difference? Is it like, does Anakin see her? Like, is his perception of her? Because he obviously feels the Force. Does he see her and he isolates her and says? I don't know what accent I'm taking on, but he sees her in the Force and she's like glowing. Like, if you can imagine looking and seeing like there's an aura about somebody like this, I need to pay attention to this person.
Yeah,
this person has an importance in my life, and maybe he even saw her in a Force vision. You know, maybe his comment, maybe let's just this one time believe that George actually wrote something that was more poignant than he let on.
Right.
And when he says something like that, he's identifying that, all right, this is a being in the Force I'm drawn to.
Right.
Because
for whatever unknown reason.
Yeah. So, and there's other characters that have this happening to them. And there's this inexplicable, like, you know, the people that you see, like the true love scenarios where you run into people and they drift apart and they come back, and for whatever reasons, you know, Christ, Meg Ryan made a whole career making movies like that.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I got when I watched it this time. I'm like, you know what? Thinking about the Force and thinking about how if you're Force being and you're looking at somebody and you're seeing them in the Force, I think that there was an attraction there, and I think that the Emperor may have had something to do with that.
I believe it.
I think the Emperor, like, by impregnating Shmi, however that happened, you know, in the comic, it's like him putting his hand over her belly or whatever. But by the Emperor creating this seed, he's setting the stage for these two to meet, to make Vader so that they can go do these other things.
Sure. Yeah. And we know for a fact that Palpatine had a lot of visions of the future. He could foresee things more than most Force sensitive people.
Right.
So, I mean, that makes sense. And I could see him kind of being sort of the person that pushes them, especially like you get to episode 2.
Right.
And he suggests, oh, maybe Master Kenobi and his apprentice can watch over Senator Amidala in this time. But, you know, getting back to the episode 1 stuff, like there was this, I wrote Padme pedo moment number 3, where, you know, they're celebrating. And then Padme pedo moment number 4, where they're on the fucking ship and she puts the blanket on him. But that even more so was really creepy because she was being like very motherly to him at that point. So that, you know, she's putting a blanket around and kind of tucking him in.
I think what you're doing is you're isolating certain things and like without taking the context of what had just happened, you know, getting back on the ship and everything else, and kind of her having to go back to, oh, by the way, while you've been out fucking off, your planet's been invaded, type thing. And she's getting in that mindset where she's got to go back to that shit, back to, you know, surviving an attack and having to go back to her home planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that, I didn't look, I really, again, we know the end of the story. So I looked at it as there's a level of interaction there that I think was written. It may or may not have been written this way, but just like, okay, this makes sense to whatever happens next. Like, how does Anakin, like, after these interactions, and we assume that they don't interact again until they show up at you know, Planet Hollywood or wherever the fuck they're at in Coruscant.
Yeah.
And just that little bit of interaction, a hug here, a smile there, is all the shit that he's built on to develop this like love affair with this.
Sure.
It's got to be it has to be something that's been like built up in the Force, or they're on rails basically to have this collision happen.
Yeah, it's weird thinking about it in that context though, when, you know, she's 16, he's 8, you know. What's even more of a mind fuck though is the fact that she is 16 in this, and I'm just like, can't say Natalie Portman's attractive right now. Can't say she's attractive. Can't do it.
Can't say even though the girl with sultry lips.
Even though she's a 30-something-year-old woman now, can't say it in the context of this movie.
Yeah, because bad things.
Yeah, so it's such a mindfuck. It's so weird.
And honestly, I think that dichotomy is probably the most in their first interaction, and then when she goes away from him. Like before he catches up to them in the market with the Sebulba bullshit, like, and Jar Jar, like she like looks back at him, and it's a very like, you know, like I think my daughter could probably analyze it better, like, because they use certain, like, okay, it's going from left to right, so that means it's like a positive thing as we go on the right to left, and you know, they work it a certain way so that you get that feeling of like, hey, I felt a connection again with an 8-year-old, but I felt this connection, and you know, you feel it too, or something.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah. So
on to the next words.
My next bullet point I had in here was John Williams at his absolute finest.
This should have been our first fucking. It was my first bullet point. When this first came out, and in subsequent listenings and going out through my life, this is one of the best scores.
Yes.
Like if we were going to score, like grade all the movie scores. Which did we do an episode on that, or
we listened to like our favorite tracks from John Williams?
Yeah. So this entire soundtrack is right up there.
Oh yeah,
in its entirety, because there's such good scoring in this. And could you only imagine? Like we've said it 100 times, and we'll say it 100 more times. What this franchise would be garbage without the soundtrack.
Yeah,
it would be absolute garbage.
Yeah,
like the same thing that draws us into the video games and draws us into these movies is John Williams and that wavy wand of his to fucking hypnotize us into just immersing ourselves into this.
Yeah, and I'll give you a great example of this. When this came out in '99. Obviously, Duel of the Fates was fucking huge. It was something that we had never heard in a movie before. Even in the original Star Wars trilogy, you'd never heard like an opus like this. This whole Duel of the Fates, this 5-minute fucking track, fucking phenomenal. They made a music video out of that. Now, I know most of you people who are listening don't remember a time when MTV and VH1 played music videos on their channel.
See, I think you're underestimating our demographic.
Okay, that's
I think
true.
our demographic is probably older than you're alluding to.
So some of you might remember this. They had a music video for Duel of the Fates that ran in regular circulation on MTV and VH1. And, most of it was like live action footage from John Williams recording the fucking score intermixed with like scenes from the movies. That's how big this fucking soundtrack was. You never saw something like that ever up to this point.
Even with another John Williams soundtrack.
Yeah.
You didn't get anything
like he had memorable, memorable tracks and everything that would really make you think of that movie. Nothing like Duel of the Fates, though.
We could just suck John Williams' dick for probably 3 hours, but
yeah.
There's not another movie that you can listen to, movie soundtrack that you can listen to for me anyway, that I can it's like sitting in a boat without paddles and you're just riding along with it. If the music is the waves, you're kind of riding along with it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And, even some of the lesser parts of the movie are still just amplified and just made so much better with his score. Like when they go into the Gungan city, which all of the Gungans are fucking trash, but that scene where they're swimming up to the fucking Gungan city, in addition to seeing that really cool visual of them coming over that hump and but the fucking soundtrack at that time is so good.
And it, if we can relate it to The Last Jedi, the Canto Bight sequence is the music is good. I like the music from it. There's some really just nice jazzy elements to it that I just like.
Very Cantina band.
Yeah, but it has more maturity, I'll say.
Yeah.
But you can't talk about a Star Wars movie and not give John Williams a lion's share of the credit for how good it is.
Yeah.
And the man should have so many fucking Oscars he could fucking sleep on them at night.
And I'm sure he does, honestly. Like I haven't counted it up. Like look at his Wikipedia page. But I bought the fucking soundtrack for episode 1, and I still have that original soundtrack that I bought over here somewhere.
Is it on 8-track?
It's on CD, asshat.
Did you get it from Columbia House Records? Did you pay a penny for it?
No, man. I went to my local fucking
Sam Goody.
Sam Goody, yeah. And I bought that shit the day it came out because I think that came out the same day. Oh. So you talk about spoilers, right?
Right.
We've talked a lot about spoilers over the years. One thing that happened with that soundtrack, the soundtrack came out a couple weeks before the fucking movie did.
Yeah.
And the last or second to last track on that is
Qui-Gon's
Qui-Gon's funeral or something like that. Or like Funeral for a Jedi, some shit like that. But such a huge spoiler that they would never do today.
They went, that was a big whoops.
Yeah. And I remember buying the CD 2 weeks before the movie comes out, looking at it and going, oh fuck, I guess this guy dies. But yeah, that's something you would never see today. No. With as tight control as they have over every fucking plot element of these movies.
It's pretty and this day and age, the amount of control that they do have and release information, shit like that is pretty spectacular.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, the novelization of Phantom Menace came out like a week before the movie did.
I forget. We talked about this, actually.
I'm pretty sure it did. Like
Qui-Gon's noble end.
Yeah. So, okay, well, I guess we know what happens here. But that
no. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the music. We don't have to like fucking get kicked off royalties.
Yeah. But that was one of those weird things that was still going on back then, where they weren't keeping as tight of control over like the spoilers and shit.
Yeah. It went Qui-Gon's noble end and then Qui-Gon's funeral.
Qui-Gon's funeral. So yeah, if you bought the soundtrack like 2 weeks before the fucking movie came out and you looked at the track list, you're like, oh,
and I've got the soundtrack right here. Of course I do.
I guess I know what happens. I'm gonna find my fucking CD. It's in these stacks of CDs somewhere. I still have my original fucking episode 1 soundtrack from '99.
It's awesome.
Anything else on John Williams and the score? Like any other tracks of note?
Guy, we gotta just for the sake of time. Let's press.
Yeah.
Duel of the Fates, obviously.
Yeah, Duel of the Fates, the Gungan City, of course, the finale, the you know, yeah, as cheesy as it was, it was a good little tune. Yeah, it was good. It was a really feel good ending.
No, there's still no batteries in C-3PO. I have 3 batteries. 3. Who has 3 batteries?
I have no idea.
Anyway, sorry, that was a chat interaction.
The biggest, I guess, flaw in this movie and really in the entire prequel trilogy was the fact that for some reason, well, besides Jar Jar, was the fact that Lucas, I don't know what it was, but in the original trilogy, he wrote and directed the first one, and then he started letting other people direct the other ones. He had the vision, he knew where the story wanted to go. He let other people write and direct the subsequent movies. With the prequels, I think this was his cash cow, and he realized, oh no, this is mine, and only I get to do the things, because he insisted that he write and direct all 3 of these fucking movies.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it shows, because we've already gotten into some of the shit dialogue in this, the shit characters, the fucking Jar Jar. Now, you talk about the whole, I wrote it for kids, right? I get that.
Bullshit.
Well,
it's bullshit.
Well, but see, I've always been adamant about the fact that if you can make a movie for kids that is still entertaining for adults,
obviously,
but
Toy Story,
right? But you throw a fucking Jar Jar character in there with like all kinds of fart jokes and everything else, and it's like, really, you're really only appealing to the absolute lowest common denominator.
The only reason, that fucking Lucas, why this movie has that negative tinge to it, is because he had a fucking idea for the CGI, and he wanted the integration of this CGI into the fucking movie. And come hell or high water, he didn't care how it was going to have to be done. He's fucking doing it. Yeah. I mean, watch the making of documentary.
Right,
if you haven't,
talk about that
if you haven't, you have to fucking watch it. And you have this actor with this giant fucking rubber thing on his head, acting out the motions. When they end up CGIing the whole fucking thing, that was his focus.
Yeah.
The green screening and the fucking putting dots on people to get the motion capture, that shit. That was his baby. That was ILM's next big fucking thing, how they were going to take control of the movie industry. And he wanted to fucking showcase it.
Which that worked.
So how do you fucking if you're going to have a character like that, how do you keep him on screen for any length of time? You have him stumble into a fucking room full of droids and say goofy shit. You have him step in shit and fucking the spaceport. You know, that's the type of shit you have to do to keep the character on the screen, because that entire scene was fucking CGI.
Yeah.
That when the one where he steps in shit.
Yeah.
Like you have the human characters walk through, but the rest of it, all the back paneling and everything else, it's all fucking CGI. So it had nothing to do with, like, he had the storyline, but how do I write fucking more of this shit in there? How do I get Jar Jar? Why do I have a fucking 5 probably longer minute scene of one fish eating another fish with giant fucking biceps? You know, like, why fucking have He-Man shark fucking guy fucking eat another fish? Because he could.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted. He wanted that. And that's why it's filled with this. That bullshit is now filled into episode 1, which weighs it down and makes it a bad movie.
Which
a worse movie than the others.
Right. Which if he had brought in an actual screenwriter and another director who were competent, he could tell him, this is my vision. This is where I want the story to go. These are the different beats that I want. This is my storyboard. You go out there, write the dialogue. You go out there and actually direct these actors to perform, you know, this dialogue.
My vision. And you would have not had such campiness. And,
and
you wouldn't have the bullshit.
Yeah, that was so annoying.
Why fucking have that?
Yeah.
Isn't an adaptation to the fucking habitat that they have to shake their heads in order to get oxygen?
No, it's just something he wanted to throw out there. Same with the fucking Nemoidians. Like, why do they have to sound like people trying to speak in like an Asian accent?
Imperial Japanese, like fucking like Yamamoto and a bad fucking overdub.
And it's not even like just somebody speaking in an accent. You can tell it's somebody trying to speak in an accent and not doing it well. You know, like you listen to the female on the bridge in the very beginning. She's like, "We lost a transmission, sir." You know, and it's just
like a tinny,
like, what?
Like, and here's another thing. Did I put it in a note? The fucking interaction. It's interesting to have interaction with each other. Like, if you have a droid army, why wouldn't you just pop into their head? Why would you have a holographic image in front of them that the droids interact with? Wouldn't you just fucking pipe that right into their fucking domes? That's dome pieces.
That's one of those suspending your disbelief kind of things.
Whatever, but it kind of leads into some other things with me anyway. With Dave, is that all right? If you just communicated directly with the droids, and they would like the indecision in the when they go to free the pilots. Again, a Lego Star Wars fucking scene, because all I'm thinking is I have to climb up at this, and I have to swing off of that, and then I unlock this pilot, and then I have to go do another one. That's the I was thinking of the whole time. But that's the kind of shit that I was like, you don't. Okay, I get it. Whatever. You got the holographic images. We see it in other Star Wars movies. I'm fine with that. But then, you know, the astromechs, like why, like. Did you feel a need for the first time to get an ad? Like, okay, let's identify R2's backstory right now.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do it by having this fucking shiny ship, sleek ass shiny ship, needs fucking a bunch of roller droids to fucking go out there and fix it with could you? Again, the suspension of disbelief is tough for me because, like, I've worked on airplanes and nothing's that easy to fucking get to.
That scene was pretty ridiculous.
We're gonna fix the shield thing externally.
Yeah,
and a droid's gonna have to go out there. Like, who engineered this? I'd be sitting in the back going, "Who the fuck engineered this piece of shit?"
Yeah, my favorite part being when R2 actually mugs for the camera right before he fucking finishes. You know, he like looks over, it's like, "It's me, R2," and then he goes back and finishes.
It's me doing my shit. Yeah. And then but that's why you have this need to introduce R2-D2. Everyone knows who fucking R2-D2 is. We don't need R2-D2's backstory, and we sure as shit don't need R2-D2 in front of fucking the fake queen, and then have the handmaiden go fucking give him a hand job or whatever. Yeah. Like, basically, it's like, hey, Padme, go give fucking this R2 unit a fucking hand job.
Yeah,
and then come back.
So to get
the adults are going to talk. Like, why would you send the queen who's making all the decisions? Like, who's the queen?
Right.
Who was the queen? Like, fucking Qui-Gon's like, okay, we're going to do this, and Padme says like, "We are brave, Your Highness." Like, is that the code word to like, yes, follow the Jedi all over space? Go.
Yeah, and that's what the feeling I got. Like,
it's
their weird code speak.
Yeah, code. Go do anything the Jedi tells us to do.
That backs up my point that Lucas is much better and would have been much better as, you know, a producer and a visionary than a writer and director. And I'll give you a perfect example of why that is. What were the two scenes in this movie that people raved about afterwards? There were two scenes that really stuck out that people said, no matter what, fuck all the Jar Jar shit and all that. There were two scenes in this movie that everybody absolutely loved.
Well, obviously, it's Qui-Gon and Maul. It's the Duel of Fates.
The lightsaber battle.
Yeah, and
the pod race.
I'm not a fan of the pod race.
Well, when it came out in '99, I do remember a lot of people really raved over the pod race scene. And, you know, people still up to this point talk about it. Now, Solsky mentions that it lasts for about 45 minutes, which, you know, it might be a little bit accurate. And what was the common denominator of those two scenes? Barely any dialogue.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that was mixed in was fucking trash. Exactly. So, and that's why Lucas
A
should
sleeping Hut like walking over to fucking lazily fire the fucking gun. Fuck you. Fuck you.
And that's
we know what the Huts are. We know it's Hut controlled space. Perfect. Got it. They're in Hut controlled space. Do I need to see fucking Jabba Hutt and his fucking girlfriend or whatever Hut and his girlfriend fucking standing there? And how did they make her look like a female?
Lipstick
And like a saggy looking boob.
Yeah.
Like she had like shy boob.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what the fuck? Just don't. You didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have fucking the double-headed fucking.
That announcer. Yeah. I don't care what universe you're from. That's gotta hurt. First of all, we're all in the same fucking universe, okay? Yeah. He could have at least said galaxy.
Maybe.
You know, I don't care what galaxy.
Everyone else in the Star Wars universe has said the word galaxy.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to go ahead.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden you're saying universe. You didn't like the pod race scene though, huh?
I'm not a fan of the pod race scene.
Really?
So overwhelm my ability to suspend disbelief is really what it comes down to.
Okay. Jet
turbine, aspirated engine, like well, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
So you could just picture like some fucking cased out, TF-33, as the fucking engine for this thing, and they go ahead and start it, and it's like, zzz, and now it's like throwing air. Suddenly, engines have air, but they're connected. The whole thing to me was trash. I appreciate that now we understand that Anakin uses his force connection to be able to kind of see a little bit into the future, to anticipate his movements, to be able to control a pod.
Which they built on that in the second Thrawn.
I get it. But his competition, like the series, the animated series is out right now. Resistance. So that series, right, where they're doing racing and shit like that, there's no like fucking big onion looking fucking alien guy with like, oh no, and he crashes. Like, that's a superhuman species that can control these fucking things, because you know, like, humans, like, you're telling me that humans aren't superior enough than this thing has fucking lightning cat like reflexes and can't even get the fucking thing to start.
Right.
No, fuck you. Like, I watched that scene and I just could not get through it.
Huh.
And oh by the way, it's the hardest fucking thing in Lego Star Wars. Of any of the Lego Star Wars, it is the hardest fucking thing. It took me like 50 times to get through that.
Holy shit.
Like, nonstop, just fucking trying to make it. And I missed the timing ring. I'm like, fuck! Like, it just, overall, everything that had to do with the pod race it just didn't do it for me.
That's interesting.
I would rather have had, like, that. Just made my own ears ring.
Just threw off his equilibrium.
I'm having a stroke. I would have rather have had more space interaction, like when Anakin flies the fucking starship up into the fucking alien craft, like Independence Day style. It's where are we going? Oh, we're going up to the battle. That type of shit. I would rather have, like, prove your fucking abilities up there, something like that. But
okay,
I was not a pod race fan.
That's interesting because most people, I mean, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but most people really enjoyed the pod race. Bronco Fett also hated the pod race. Wow. And Solsky said it's not the race that's the problem, it's the 30 minutes leading up to it. And see, again, like, none of that stuff bothered me this time around. Like, all the lead up, the part with Qui-Gon and Anakin's mom and Anakin himself.
I think you needed some of that. And I didn't mind Shmi in this one either. I think the interactions in the house were appropriate. I think maybe I have, because I read the Dooku book and the fucking other Master and Commander, or listening to it anyway. And so maybe my opinion's just a little bit different. And also knowing that, like, okay, you didn't just have you don't have Jesus in your belly.
Yeah.
It's the Emperor Palpatine somehow chose you.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
We still need that backstory. But
for whatever reason, like, this fucking slave on Tatooine is going to be the broad to carry the one.
Mm-hmm. And, did you get this feeling? Like, I got this feeling this time watching it, that had things gone a little bit differently, Qui-Gon would have come back and fucked Shmi. Like, he totally would have hit that.
Totes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have worked that.
So, all right. I'm glad I'm not the only one who was thinking that.
No, totally.
So, we talked about George Lucas as a writer and director versus producer. And that kind of leads into this making of documentary. And that was the documentary from the beginning. Came out when this first came out on DVD back in, it was like 2000 or 2001. I think it was 2001. I think we had like a 2-year gap before it finally came out on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And it had this documentary in it. Fucking unbelievable documentary. Honestly, this could be a whole episode of this podcast in itself. I haven't watched this documentary in several years, and I kind of want to get back to it. But just kind of in general, this goes into everything. How this movie was made, what Lucas was thinking, what his fucking producer guy was going through, all of the sets, dealing with the actors, all of this stuff. Such a phenomenal behind the scenes look at how this entire fucking movie got made.
Listen, I've got it up on the screen right now. It has 2,886,586 views.
And this is probably just some asshole who uploaded it, right? Is it like the official Star Wars?
No, this is Star Wars.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they uploaded it themselves.
That's the Star Wars.
Nice. And yeah, 20-something thousand thumbs up versus like 700 thumbs down. So that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, that's a good fucking ratio. That's a bunch of lazy fucks that don't hit the goddamn like button.
Yeah.
Hit the like button.
Yeah.
Look, we've only got 4 fucking thumbs up on this video right now. How many people are in the chat? Quick, count it.
Come on,
1,
guys.
2, 3, 4, 5, including me.
Yeah.
And I know I clicked it.
Yeah.
Click the fucking like button.
But
and you will do it.
And honestly, like, this was such a good compliment to this movie. And you've said it before in this show that, you know, it really kind of helps you get an idea for what Lucas was thinking at the time.
Yeah.
And how he came to a lot of this stuff. So whether or not we like episode 1 or we like what he did with some of the characters, he kind of explained some of it in this. But this has got to be one of the most thorough behind the scenes look at any movie I've ever seen. Like,
it's probably the only making of like documentary that I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Like toe to toe, like toe to toe. That's not the right analogy.
Asses to elbows,
soup to nuts.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, it's the only one that I've watched all the way through.
Yeah.
That's probably the more appropriate English.
Mm-hmm. But, and yeah, this is probably the only one that I've ever seen where they started making this documentary the day Lucas started actually putting fucking pencil to paper and started writing down like ideas for the script and everything, because that's one of the first fucking scenes, which, oh, by the way, kind of shows you where his fucking mindset was. He's sitting in a chair with a fucking legal pad and a pencil, and he's like, now all I need is an idea. So it's like, you fucking cocksucker, you've been telling us for years this shit was already done. And now all of a sudden you're like, fuck, what do I write?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God damn it, Lucas.
Well, I think he had an idea that like, this is how, you know, Anakin was young, and this is how Anakin became a Jedi, and this is what happened. This is the Clone Wars. You know, you had this, you know, if you just put big picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
The, you know, back padding, right? Because I'm writing a book, and while I'm writing this book, you're like, you have these ideas that kind of branch off into things,
mm-hmm.
and it's very, very generalized.
Sure.
And my book is not a novel, so it doesn't really even match up. But I could see where you're like, oh, I have this general idea of like where I think what should happen. Now,
yeah.
like, how do I make that happen? You know, how do I make that equation to equal what I want in my vision?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. And you bring in the right people. You go like, okay, I got lucky the first time. I smartened up, got fucking Kirchner to come in for
mm-hmm.
the second one. And then the guy I can't remember who's dead.
Yeah.
The third one. And then now you're regressing back to you because you probably had a bad taste in your mouth after Jedi.
Yeah.
Too. So anyway, what am I talking about? I don't even know anymore.
The making of documentary kind of gives us a good behind the scenes. And really, I think this is something that we could seriously do a whole episode on. Like, watch this documentary again and kind of break this down in a whole separate episode of the podcast. So we won't dwell on it too much here.
Watch the fucking documentary.
Yes, for the love of God. That's really the only notes that I have, like the bullet points that I really wanted to hit in this. Do you have any others that you want to throw in there?
I think the only thing I really didn't get to is I alluded to what really annoyed me, the introduction to R2-D2. I think that they failed. I think that was a fail. But I liked what they did with 3PO. 3PO is not my favorite character.
Yeah,
I know, and I think everyone that has listened to this podcast for more than 5 minutes knows that 3PO is not my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Floating head notwithstanding, because that was a gift.
Yeah.
But the naked beginning of 3PO, and what am I trying to say? You have an unfinished droid, right? You have a kid who works good with droids and puts shit together and can fix anything, can fly anything, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so what does that kid do when he's on his free time? Like, he doesn't have Minecraft. He doesn't have Legos. Oh, I've got droid parts. I'm going to make a fucking droid. Yeah. And that droid's going to help out my mom. Right. And that's why he builds it. So it's this like this glimpse into what started as this movie epitomizes the Anakin was manipulated because he loved too much.
Right.
Whether it was his mother, whether it was Padme, whether it was the Republic, all of these things, like he was passionate about everything.
Sure.
Even at a young age, like he's a kid. All I got is me and mom. I want anything I do to help mom, I'm going to do. Right.
Those motherfuckers.
Holy shit. Really?
Yeah.
That's
probably a groundhog. Yeah. Cause their hole is like right fucking there. Oh, trust me, I would kill these motherfuckers in a heartbeat.
Put this down.
Anyway,
let's get it.
Yeah. So, droids.
But well, that's the thing. Like the whole, it's kind of there's a word I'm looking for. It's like an analog of kind of the progression of Anakin Skywalker. It's like here's Anakin young, building stuff. Like, okay, we just validated everything we know about what. Where Luke got his ability to fix things and do that shit. Like all that's basically validated by one naked droid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was believable. That was believable to me. Sure. Whereas the R2, being a Star Wars fan, R2 on the Naboo thing with 6 other droids and those droids getting picked off and he's the lucky one. What if it was the fucking R4 unit with the bad motivator?
Yeah.
What if it was him?
Yeah.
Would we have a completely different fucking movie? There'd be a lot of droid lovers out there going, "Oh, the top's not really round, so I don't know." Yeah, it's like it doesn't have the butt plug look to him, so it could have been a gonk droid. Why wasn't it a gonk droid?
That's a good question.
And how does he stay on there? Like, is it magnetic? Like, because he's rolling pretty. There's no friction.
The only thing I could think.
There's no fucking friction on that Teflon fucking spaceship.
Yeah.
And why does the spaceship have to be so shiny?
It's pretty shiny.
Anyway.
And remember, same material Phasma made her armor out of.
It is.
The material on
Phasma, who is still alive.
Sure.
I got monies saying it is so.
And I mean, we could go into other stuff, midichlorians and whatnot, but I think this stuff has been talked to death already, and we could. And actually, no, we talked about midichlorians in a separate episode.
We did.
So we don't have to go into that too much. Honestly, to kind of wrap things up, just to reiterate what I said, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed the viewing this time. In fact, I watched it 1.5 times. I watched it all the way through once, and then I watched a majority of it again. For as much as I've shit on this movie over the years, it's not as bad as I remember. Yes, Jar Jar is super fucking annoying. I've really forgiven Anakin over the years. I've really forgiven a lot of the shit dialogue. It's just, taking it for what it is. But really, Jar Jar, fucking Boss Nass, the blockade, which is perfectly legal. That stuff can go suck a dick. But, everything else was not that bad.
And I agree with you. I watching it this time, and I watched it fairly recently. For when we were ranking episodes, because I wanted to look at it a different way. And even though that wasn't that long ago that we did that ranking, I watched it again this time, and ironically, I watched it via Hulu in the car,
right?
Because it was part of
the now Disney owned Hulu,
exactly. So Hulu had all the movies, and I was able to but it had fucking commercials. It's bullshit. Like, I don't
see. Yeah, my thought has been, if you're gonna pay for a fucking streaming service, why am I getting goddamn commercials?
Well, I'm only paying $34, so whatever. It's fine. We are so fucking spoiled. We are so spoiled. I brought my old Apple TV. One of the ones in the house that nobody's using. I brought it into work, right? Because we have this television that doesn't do shit all.
Yeah.
Right. So brought it in, got it hooked up to a Wi-Fi. There's a Comcast little fucking hotspot somewhere, and we had what was on? Oh, it was Rick and Morty. We had Rick and Morty going in the background, and a couple of the evaluators were sitting there. You know, we had, dude, my fucking office is the tits, man. We got the popcorn machine. We made movie theater style popcorn, and they're fucking sitting there. And the software I use, like the PEX version that they're using over there. It literally, I go to click something, I need to open up this file. It could be up to 3 to 5 minutes before it actually opens. So I have time to stare and turn and look and watch what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
Plus, I've seen all the Rick and Morty episodes a fucking billion times, so I know the dialogue.
Sure.
Regardless, a commercial came on. She's like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Oh, we're watching it via Hulu." It's like, "This is bullshit." I'm like, okay, so I have it on iTunes as well, but you know, Hulu is just happened when it was logged in. It's like, "Oh, this commercials are bullshit." We're so spoiled.
We are spoiled.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Back in the day, that was it. You know, there was some traffic in earlier. I think it might have been in Argentina, it might not have been, but fucking all right, you use commercial to take time to go take a piss.
Yeah.
Like, all right. But now you can fucking hit pause when you want to do that.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gonna pause a live baseball game. Bing.
Yeah.
And you can fucking do it without spending $100 on a TiVo. Yeah.
And this was, think about before the times of like TiVo and stuff like that. If you left the room to do anything, you missed something. That was it. It was gone.
JR got shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe in 3 months when they show a replay, you can see it again.
Yeah.
That's it. Unless you had your VCR recording at the time.
Yeah. If you missed a timeout, you're in there taking a smash, and all of a sudden you hear everybody go crazy in the other room, like, no!
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you changed the channel, if you were lucky enough to have a pirated cable box, alleged pirated cable box that had that long ass fucking cord and went clunk, clunk, clunk. Remember that thing?
I do.
The brown box.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You'd switch down this one. Clunk, clunk, clunk. It's like, oh my God, there's 3 rows of channels on this thing.
Yeah.
And 2 of them have scrambled porn.
Yeah. Channel 99 back in Bakersfield. That was the one with the scrambled porn. And you could, every once in a while, you could kind of make out what was going on. But I digress. So that's it for Phantom Menace.
We got 8 likes all of a sudden after my little fucking.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
What the hell? Hogicidal, Jason? What is that? Is that even a word?
Hogicidal?
Did he mean homicidal?
But yeah, but referring to groundhogs. So
okay.
Does that make sense now?
It does make sense.
It's hot in here, man. We're sweating our tits off.
Yeah,
we got to figure out a way to air condition this place without.
Well, if I'd started earlier, then it would have been fine. But I was thinking...
not 2 hours later though.
Fuck it, we'll figure it out. But that's it. That's it for this week. If you guys want to hear any more about Phantom Menace specifically, join the All Things Star Wars Facebook group and post in there, and maybe we'll bring it to next episode. Some things that we missed that you guys wanted to hear about, or just any other general bullshit. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram at All Things Star Wars Pod.
Yes. Twitter is All Things SW Pod.
Yes. And if you're listening to us on audio and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, fucking get on it. The link to our YouTube channel is in the show description, or just search All Things Star Wars in YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're almost a third of a way towards the 1,000-person goal that I want, and we're halfway through the year. So fucking get to it. We need to figure out. We are genuinely in the market for a social media person.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, somebody that can represent the podcast in social media, and do it full time for no pay at all,
an internship.
Yeah, exactly, unpaid internship where you will get nothing but grief. We'll fucking scream at you when timelines aren't met, and we'll just be generally angry and shitty to you. However, you'll get the glory of being our podcaster, because Dark Side is the shit. After, as we go off in here, you are going to be listening to Dooku,
Jedi,
Lost Jedi in the Mall, and
Yeah.
Master and Commander. You're going to be listening to those because we have to have a conversation about why the dark side is legitimately the better side.
They do have cookies. So
it's like we say it jokingly because even after, because I finished this book, by the way.
Oh,
I finished Revan.
Nice.
And so much, there's much to talk about here, but unfortunately this isn't canon. This is going into the sacred text. But yeah, just everything. The more I read, the more I think about the Force and everything else to realize that the dark side is the better side.
Yeah. And you even get a sense of that in episode 1 with Qui-Gon and everything else. So, but anyway, that's where we're going to end this next week. I thought I had an idea for what we were going to do next week, but
I'm sure you did. But
I've totally lost it. Maybe I'll do the Dooku. Maybe we'll do Dooku next, and then roll right into Master and Commander.
Well, we have isn't there some thing happening?
There's always things happening. You're gonna have to be more specific.
Fuck! There's a thing happening like between now and then. Is there not?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fuck! It is May the 20th.
Correct.
So the next time we tape, it'll be June. What's happening between now and then? Star Wars related.
A lot of anniversaries because most of the Star Wars movies came out in May, the original trilogy, and
it's gonna be
May.
All right, I can't remember it. So fuck it.
All right. Well, yeah,
it's gone. That penguin, gone.
We'll figure out what we're doing next week.
Eaten by a fucking killer whale.
Yeah.
E3's in 3 weeks. Okay.
No one cares.
Well, I do. I want to see more of the Fallen Order game.
Are they going to show it there? Like a lot of
they said in the panel that wait for E3.
Oh, that's where they're going to show gameplay footage. Hopefully,
that's what they're saying.
Okay, well that would be nice then. Yeah. Then someone does care.
Yeah.
So
and maybe it'll be an Old Republic update also.
Maybe we'll see. Get a preview of this new expansion. But until then, we'll figure out what we're doing next week. But it's good to be back, and thank you everyone in the chat for joining us. Until next time, everyone and Dave. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Okay, now what do I click?
Holy fuck! God damn!
We had a couple weeks of
build up.
shenanigans.
Yeah, we had a lot of build.